Hello. Good evening, everybody. Hello.
John,
Hey, how are you?
good. How are you?
Oh, I'm okay, I guess.
How are you?
Hi.
Hi, Michael. How are you? Thanks for coming.
No worries.
Well, I guess we just got started.
Good. Okay. All right. Okay. Bye-bye. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Miriam. I'll talk to you later. Did you get it? I was gonna mute myself, Christine. Okay.
Hello,
Yeah.
Pat. How are you?
Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Okay. Okay. Minute. Okay.
I should mute myself.
Come on. There we go. Right, so Christine, I'm using the computer where I didn't log on automatically. That one still logs me on automatically. It's got something to do with the computer.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to figure it out. I
You have
couldn't
to
think of
figure
it
it out.
today,
Just
but I'll think about it.
think about it, because this computer, I'm fine.
I
But
think Heather had a suggestion. We'll talk to her maybe
we'll talk.
tomorrow.
Okay, all right, fine.
Thanks, though.
Good. But again, sometime every now and then this computer goes a little wonky, so I still have to flip to the other computer. If I do, I apologize in advance for knocking you off. I'll give it right back to you, though.
My biggest concern was the live stream because I have to do the live stream. So I was
Right.
nervous that if you made me not the host, that the live stream might.
Right. But that's why I tried this computer. It worked for now. So,
Thank
but now we
you.
don't have to worry. So, if for whatever reason, okay, so if for some reason I have to switch to the other computer, will that affect the live stream?
I don't know.
Well,
Hope
let's
it
just
doesn't.
hope.
Let's hope it doesn't
Let's
happen.
hope this computer behaves itself. Maybe I should be very nice to this computer. I think they have emotions or whatever. They slow down on Friday afternoons.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Latrice.
Hello, Mark, Frank, Stephen.
All.
How you doing?
Hi, Howie.
How you been?
Good.
Christine, it's Pat. I just sent you an email. Can you take a look at it?
Just give me 1 second, Pat. I am trying to set up the live stream, so just give me a second.
Thank you very much.
Hi, John.
Yeah. Woof, woof.
Hi, Heather.
Who's that? It's here.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Very good. Hello to everyone. Welcome back. I'm sorry, I'm just getting, I want to,
Right.
sorry, I was
Heather?
so quiet when
Hi.
you came
Heather,
on.
it's
I was
Mark.
trying to
Just-
get things
just-
in order.
Just to confirm, so it's again 5 minutes for community organizations, 3 minutes for public,
That is correct, as
That's-
usual.
and then 3 minutes too when you're reading the comments.
Yes, same. The same rules apply.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. It's important to get that right.
Exactly. And 3 minutes for the electeds, right, at the end of the meeting.
No.
And also, we want to make sure the committee reports stay 3 to 5. So Mark, if we get past 5, if you could just give us a gentle reminder that we're at 5, that would be helpful. Because it's really hard to
Right.
track that yourself.
Should I give the reminder like at 4:50? I mean, four
No.
and a half? No, just at 5.
No, I think just at 5.
Okay.
Thank you.
When can I make a statement of public safety?
I'm sorry. Hold
I
on a
need
second.
Yeah,
Steve?
yeah.
Okay. In the good and welfare, we usually it's right at the good and welfare board member at the top. So since you're asking, I already have one person. I'll put you on as second person. Thank you for asking.
I will need to share my screen for that as well.
Okay. I think you should. Can you look at the bottom and see if your share button?
It is.
Okay. So, thank you so much. While I have everyone's attention before we're live, is there anyone else besides Ed and Steve Metz that will have a good and welfare? Just trying to check ahead of housekeeping.
Right. Yeah, Heather, I'm having to go to welfare too.
Okay. Okay, so right now it will go Ed 1, Steve 2, Mark 3.
Heather,
1 second. Christine, I see a message from you.
Heather, there, I'm going to announce the council meeting.
Okay. Oh, it'll be 4.
Hello? Oh. Community board meeting?
This is?
Oh, hi, it's Herb. Our internet is out here. Have to call in
Herb.
with,
Okay.
except it's, yeah. So it's, I can't see anything, but I'm here.
Hello, Herb. I've had that experience before, so I know what it's like. Just hang in there.
Okay. Okay. When you talk, could you identify who you
This is Latrice Davis, your fellow
hi. How
community
are you?
board member.
How do you do? Hi. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, if you can bear with us for like 2 minutes, we have to, we appear to be having some technical difficulties tonight with the live stream. So we just need, for the sake of transparency, I'm just going to put up an announcement on social media, just so folks know that if they want to attend the meeting, they're going to have to register on, for WebEx and watch it via WebEx. So if you could just bear with us for 2 minutes while we take care of that. And then just for everyone on this call, so everyone knows, we will post the meeting tomorrow because we can record it within the WebEx system and then post it tomorrow. Sonia, are you on? I'll take that as a no.
See, I'm going to plug that in down there. Oh, no, what to do? Remove this plug and plug it in down there. This one. Plug it down there. 77%. Oh, look how hot this got. Oh. Okay, now. Yeah. Oh, I can't. All right, put it back when I get a chance. Okay, now, this stays there. Star 6.
Herb, it's David. Just to let you know, you're not on mute, Herb.
What, David?
You're not on mute. You can hear.
Oh, how do you go on mute? What was it? Something with 6, right?
Herb, I'm going to mute you. When you want to speak, just press *6 to unmute yourself.
Star 6, and then if I want to mute myself again, it's also *6?
I'm not sure if you can mute yourself. I'm going to mute you, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Frank.
Heather, this is Pat Morgan. If you have an opportunity, can you just check your email, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Just give me 2 shakes of a pistol and I'll be with you.
Hi, Gene.
Pat, thank you. I've seen the message. Appreciate you reaching out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. now that we've dealt with our technical difficulties tonight, I want to start the meeting by saying welcome back and welcome to the September meeting of Queens Community Board 6. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be live and will be streamed tomorrow or posted tomorrow on YouTube. Hoping everyone had a lovely summer and that those of you who celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival, we hope you had a very enjoyable one. We have a tremendous amount of work to complete this evening, so I ask that everyone be mindful of your time. We will be doing our best to keep the business moving tonight. As we always do, we will start our meeting with comments from the public. Tonight, we have a number of speakers. We also have several public comments related to the BSA application that are written that will be read into the record during the Land Use Housing Landmark Committee report. As always, individuals at our board meetings get 3 minutes to speak, and organizational representatives get 5 minutes to speak. Mark Laster will be our timekeeper. He will let you know when you have 30 seconds left, and when time is called, you will be expected to conclude your remarks or risk being muted. And we're not doing that to be disrespectful. We're doing that because we have a lot of issues that we have to deliberate on, and we need to allow sufficient time for that. If you are not muted, I would ask that you please mute yourself. I'm also asking that tonight, because we have a member or two that are calling in that will not be able to physically see us, that when you are speaking, if you would say good evening and just give your name so that the person know who's speaking, that would prove to be very helpful. So tonight we have several, the first folks I'm looking for is Melanie Rodolfo, and then I'm also looking for Katha Cato. Have they been promoted?
Melanie has
Mark?
been promoted. She should be able to speak.
Okay. Melanie, you have, since you're here with the Forest Hills Green Team, you have 5 minutes. Melanie? I see Melanie. I see.
Can somebody unmute her? I don't have that power.
I just sent her a request to be unmuted. While Melanie's working these technical issues out, is Katha Cato from Queens World Film Festival here?
Don't see Katha.
Don't see Katha. Okay. Okay, and Melanie, I see your name, Melanie. I've sent a request for you to unmute.
Heather,
Okay.
she says she doesn't know how to unmute on her end.
Is she, Melanie, if you are dialing in on a phone, then you need to do *6.
You hear me?
Yes.
But I have to hold it. I'm so sorry. I'm just holding the space bar. Okay, I'll just. All right. So
go ahead.
Good evening.
5 minutes.
I'm Melanie. So I'm giving you the report from the Forest Hills Green Team. We continue to run our weekly food scrap drop-off site every Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. by Common Point, Queens. Aside from collecting food scraps, we have been educating community members regarding the rollout of curbside composting in Queens. If people have any questions about this program, please email us at fhgtinc@gmail.com. We have secured daffodils, which we plan to plant on our Yellowstone site in either October or November. We have done presentations for PS 196, the Reform Temple of Forest Hills, Metropolitan Expeditionary Learning School, the high school in Forest Hills, and Bronx High School of Science, educating students about what climate change is and what they could do to fight it in partnership with Kids Fight Climate Change. If you would like a presentation at your school, please contact us again at fhgtinc@gmail.com. On Sunday, September 25th, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., Queens Botanical Gardens has organized Compost Palooza, a celebration of community composting in Queens. We will be sending over a flyer to the community board office describing this activity. The Forest Hills Green Team will have a table there where we will be presenting information about our activities and assisting people to register to vote. We continue to partner with citywide and statewide coalitions advocating for programs to push back against climate change. The next meeting of the Forest Hills Green Team is Monday, September 19th at 6 p.m. virtually. We have invited representatives of Senator Comrie's office to attend in order for our members who have recently been redistricted to learn more about the senator and for him to learn more about us. If you want to attend our meeting, email us at fhgtinc@gmail.com. Thank you. I'm done speaking.
Melanie, thank you so very much for being with us today and for giving us that information on the Forest Hills Green Team. Thank you so very much. Has Katha joined us? I don't see her on my list.
I don't see her
Okay.
either, Heather. There's a fair amount of call-in phone numbers, but without knowing her phone number, we can't identify her.
Understood. Okay, so then the next person we will hear from is Douglas Roca. Has he been promoted?
Douglas has been promoted. Douglas is calling in. So Douglas,
Okay.
just press *6 to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Before I read my statement, I was wondering if the chair, Heather Beers-Dimitriadis, if she's received some communication from my neighbor Norman Ing, who has sent quite copious amounts of data, photographs, and information on this case, ESA 2020-64 PZ, and if the board has received this information.
We received the information, the office received the information. We have the information. The board, this information was sent to us prior to, was sent too close to the meeting for us to get this to the board. Packets are sent to the board in advance of this meeting. The board has been supplied with all of the testimony from the August 8th public hearing for this meeting. So they have been supplied that. We did not supply them in the efforts of transparency. We did not supply them with that report because we cannot, and also because we cannot supply the board with materials that we have not been able to get verified ourselves. And there just wasn't sufficient amount of time for us to do that. So when we deliberate on items of this nature, we need to be certain of the integrity of the materials, and we just did not have sufficient time to do that. And I'm sorry. But we need to get moving with your testimony. So would you like to get started now?
Yes, my name is Douglas Rocaw. I live in and own the house at 595 16th Road, and I am against granting a variance for BSA number 2020-64 PB. This request is a tremendous ask, allowing an as-of-right house of worship to go from 102 congregants to 363 would create an oversized building which is bulky, obtrusive, and out of character with the neighborhood. This would obviously alter the quiet residential nature of this area and have an adverse effect on street parking, congestion, safety, homeowners' insurance rates, and house values. At an unprecedented August 8th Land Use Committee meeting, 15 members of the board ignored and flippantly dismissed is a legitimate concern. I commend Treasury Secretary Kevin Lai for hearing and acknowledging the serious nature of these issues. I also implore the full board to stop this variance. We know lawyer J. Yakov Vivi Goldstein called for this August meeting, and we, the immediate residents of 66 Road, earlier today have taken legal action. Please do not rubber stamp this application's approval and implicate yourself. This is a very serious measure to all the people who live in this section of Rego Park. It's a very big intrusion on a very quiet residential street, and we hope you can hear our concerns. Thank you.
Thank you and have a good evening. Next, we have Joanne Sullivan. Has Joanne been promoted?
Yes, Joanne has been promoted. She should be able to speak.
Joanne, good evening. You have 3 minutes. Mark will let you know when you have 30 seconds left.
Thank you. I own and live in a house near the proposed synagogue on 66th Road. My neighbors and I fear that it would bring excessive noise, foot and vehicular traffic, and congestion to our quiet neighborhood. At the August 8th committee meeting, board members claimed that they have not had overwhelming quality of life complaints connected with other small synagogues in the district. Do you really consider a building with a capacity of 363 people small? We certainly don't. For comparison, consider the nearby Cinemark movie theater on Metropolitan Avenue, which has a capacity of 295 seats. That's 68 seats fewer than the capacity of the proposed synagogue. If a group requested variances to shoehorn a movie theater on the block, we would oppose it just as vehemently as we oppose this synagogue. Either structure would change the character of the block and the neighborhood and would harm the residents' quality of life. According to our research, there aren't any comparably sized synagogues on quiet streets in our area. We've asked the community board to send us the addresses and capacities of the other small synagogues that they referred to on August 8th. Apparently, the board members don't believe in transparency, accessibility, and accountability because they refuse to present evidence to support their claim. Jay Goldstein claims the proposed synagogue wouldn't increase pedestrian traffic because the congregants would walk to a local synagogue regardless of whether or not they erect this building. We don't object to congregants walking to synagogues on the nearby main streets, but we do object to hundreds of congregants converging on a narrow sidewalk on a quiet side street. On August 8th, some board members insinuated that the anti-Semitism is driving the opposition to the proposed synagogue. Many of us don't oppose building a synagogue per se. We just think it's too big for the location. One of my Jewish neighbors opposes building the synagogue on this quiet street, but he's willing to contribute money to build it on a nearby main street. If you can't understand the difference between hundreds of people converging on a main street and hundreds of people converging on a quiet side street, perhaps you don't deserve a seat on the community board. Please vote against the variances for this proposed McMansion that's out of context with its surroundings. The congregation is currently much smaller than the capacity of the proposed building. Please do not allow them to build a synagogue that's far bigger than necessary to accommodate their current needs. Thank you.
Next will be Mary Ann Franklin. Is Mary Ann here?
Heather, I don't see Marianne on the list either. Nor do I
Okay.
see William.
Nor do you see William. Okay, let's try one more time. Is Katha Cato here? No, Katha?
No.
We have no Mary Franklin? And no William?
That's
No.
one of the several call-in people, no.
Yeah, we did stress to people if they were going to call in, they had to let us know what phone number they were calling from so we could identify them. But I don't see those names on here.
Okay. Well, then that ends the public comment forum of our portion of our meeting. Sorry, guys, I got a frog in my mouth, clearly. All right, so moving on now to the minutes Each of you were sent in your packets for this month the minutes from our June meeting. After reviewing them, first want to, by using the raise hand feature, if you could let me know if you have any issues or concerns, please raise your hand now. Seeing no hands, then do I have a motion to accept the minute? Oh, I see a hand. I'm sorry, Latrice, go ahead. These hands look like tiny pineapples. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No big deal. I just want to go on the record and clarify that to thank you regarding the attendance because I was at the June meeting, but I did leave early. So I appreciated the email that was sent out in regards to clarity on attendance at the meeting. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Latrice, and we appreciate that. And any more issues, concerns? Okay, then do I have a motion to accept the minutes as written?
Yes, I do.
Have a second, please.
Second.
And who was that,
Mark
please?
Laster.
Mark as my second, okay? Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Say
Aye.
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 Okay. If you all could mute yourself now.
How do you do
and
that?
Christine, is Lynn Shulman with us now?
Yes. Lynn is on.
Yeah, I'm
Should be
here.
able to speak.
I apologize. I have to join from my phone because there's something wrong with my computer tonight, of course. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, thank you. By the way, I heard some of the public comment period and all that. I just want to thank everyone on this board and point out to everyone that these folks are volunteers who are on the board and they give of their time, and I appreciate each and every one of you for doing that and doing the hard work that you do. So with that, I want to just let you know sort of what's a little bit about what's been going on. I also want to mention that I know this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and as a breast cancer survivor, I just had my second 6-month checkup with flying colors, and I want to urge everyone to please get mammograms and please get your regular screenings. My office is working to see if we can get a van out to do some of that, so we will keep you posted. I also, Fasia Klaas, who is my chief of staff, is leaving. Friday is her last day. Seth Urbender in my office is gonna take over for now, and we have a really good staff. Kevin, whom you know, is on the call today. In addition, I want to let everyone know I had made a promise last year that we were going to do participatory budgeting this coming fiscal year, which we are going to do. So I just want to let you know about that, and we're just pulling it together. So you'll hear more about that in the near future. And Heather, I'm going to ask, because my staff doesn't, it's new for them, for you to help us with that.
Oh, sure.
Okay, great. There's a lot that I was able to do in the district for the budget. We got $5 million for various projects at most of the schools in the district. I'm going to be sending out a newsletter soon, so it'll have more details on it. And we've done a bunch of stuff on reproductive rights, and I, as chair of the health committee, have done a number of things with COVID, with monkeypox. I'm actually having a hearing on this Monday at 1 o'clock about hospital capacity and moving on that. It's a program that the speaker and I are going to be working on into the spring to talk about a healthcare system to try and make it more equitable and accessible. We had multiple cleanups and a whole bunch of things. We are bringing we had an increase in the budget on sanitation. Composting, as you know, is coming to Queens, and I'm trying to get the chair of the sanitation committee of the council to come out and we'll do a little program around that. Mark, I'm thinking of you as I'm talking about this. And I just want to also mention that, so next fiscal year, the budget is projected to be severe in terms of a deficit because we're going to be losing all of the federal monies that we have now. We're going to end. The economic forecast is pretty bad. We have economists on staff at the council, so we're going to be members are going to be meeting with the finance staff and the economic staff to see where we are. I know the mayor is trying to make cuts now for this budget, and then we'll see where we are next year. So even I've had conversations with Brad Lander, the controller, who said that we may be in a position where we have to make some really difficult decisions. So I will keep everyone posted on that. And if anyone has any questions, please ask me. I mean, I just wanted to kind of give an overview. I have a newsletter that'll be coming out in the next few weeks, so you'll be able to see more details about what's going on.
If you have any questions, use the raise hand feature. Kevin, I see your hand up. Kevin?
Thank you, Councilmember Schulman. I want to ask about just the rain and the flood from this past week, and specifically, you know, I think I checked, like, you know, everyone checks the weather warning, and there was a flash flood warning. I guess going forward, are we to take that warning very seriously?
So a couple of things about that. I'm glad you raised that. One, Grace Meng, Andrew Hevesy, and I put out a statement yesterday because, you know, we're going to get more storms like that. And it was a smaller storm. I mean, it wasn't Ida, but it was very, it was damaging to a number of different properties. I will tell you that I have been in conversation with the commissioner of DEP to talk, and we're trying to get him to come out to take a look at some of the areas, and I'll work with the board on that when that happens. In terms of the notifications, I'm going to talk to OEM about that and see what we can do. Maybe they can come out and make a presentation too about the warnings and things like that. So, and in fact, for the anniversary of Ida, Grace Meng and I went to the Fairview, which, if you know, some people may recollect, somebody unfortunately passed away in their basement apartment there. So we laid flowers and we talked to the co-op owners and all of that. So they had actually, from this storm the other day, the garage was flooded. So we have to really take a look at the infrastructure. That's another piece. The governor put out a plan that didn't include New York City, but apparently money was given to New York City. I and my staff are trying to track down where that money is, because we want to make sure that it comes to Queens, and we want to make sure that it comes to the district, because our district is not considered a normal, you would call a flood zone. So we're on top of that, and it's something very important to me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
I
don't
do.
see.
I do
Oh,
have
Howard?
yeah.
Okay,
Lynn,
go ahead,
how are
Howard.
you? Lynn, good evening. How are you?
Good, Howard. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I have a question. I'm trying to get on your email, and I always call your office. I gave them my email address, and no one sends me an email. I can put, update.
So we haven't sent out any email blasts yet. We're working on that. The speaker's office just hired a digital specialist to work with us, if that's what you're talking about. But I have a newsletter that will be mailed out to everyone very soon. And as soon as we start doing that, we'll make sure that you're on our list.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Any other questions this evening from the board?
Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have my hand raised. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Latrice Davis. I wanted to piggyback off of what Kevin talked about a few minutes ago. I did not get a text alert, and I'm not a homeowner, but I do live on the first floor of my apartment building. And even though I got lucky this time around, when I left for work Tuesday morning, the lobby was flooded. So I too am concerned about the crumbling infrastructure, especially when you consider that technically we don't live in a flood zone.
Right.
And I've been reading the news articles about Mayor Adams pushing for even more budget cuts. So I appreciate you speaking on this, Councilwoman, and I was just curious as to how much pushback you're giving Mayor Adams in regards to his efforts to cut even deeper with the city budget.
They haven't given us any specifics yet. So as soon as they do, the council is going to push back with him. And also I want to tell you in terms of the storm issues, I know that the DEP commissioner is putting together a comprehensive plan for the city. And like I said, I want to make sure, I've been really pushing to make sure that our district is included in that, because previously it hasn't been. In terms of the text messages, did you apply for Notify NYC or download the app?
I probably did not. I'll be honest. I probably didn't. But usually, because I usually do get sometimes I do get alerts.
Okay,
But I don't think I signed up for OEM directly. So
yeah,
no.
the best thing to do is go up on Notify NYC. They have an app. It's great. And they will notify you about a bunch of things. And like I said, one of the things, maybe Heather, if I can get somebody from OEM to come to one of the meetings, if maybe they can make a presentation, if that would work for you, and we can figure out when.
Sure, let's discuss that. And I have to agree, Notify NYC is spectacular. I signed up when my kids were in elementary school, and they're great. They'll send it to your email, they'll send it to your cell phone, or both, depending on how engaged you want to be, but it's an excellent resource. I also have, I have Peter Beadle and then Brentley. Peter Beadle. Peter, I do not hear you if you're speaking.
Sorry, I should know better. How are you doing,
Okay.
Councilwoman? Thank you very much.
I'm
I
good.
know you know, but just since it came up a couple of times, we might not be in a flood zone, but this flooding isn't because of anything related to a flood zone, right? It's
No,
all
not.
sewers that are backing up.
That's correct.
And as we do more development as well, we desperately need to have our sewers upgraded. Also, some of the other measures that they've been put in, like the rain gardens and that sort of stuff. For instance, my neighborhood over by 63rd Drive, years ago, I saw maps laying out exactly where they were going to put those, and they haven't come in yet. That whole process is very slow and backlogged, and it would make a real difference to mitigating a lot of this water runoff. My building also had flooding because all of the sewers backed right up.
No, Peter, I agree with you 100%, and that's why I want to make sure that the DEP commissioner, who's new, will, and when they do their comprehensive survey, that we're included in that. And I'll touch base with you around that too, because your knowledge would be invaluable there.
That's great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next, I have Brentley.
Yeah, there. Len, thank you so much for being here tonight. Thank you, Councilwoman. Just wanted to ask, I know, and I appreciate all that you've been doing with Donna Richardson, Andrew Hevesy, and everyone else with the monkeypox vaccinations coming to Queens. I noticed, I'm looking at my email just to confirm, I'm not seeing anything since September 7th. Do we have any update on when there might be some more vaccinations, and is there a plan to expand them by chance?
You can. A lot of it is up on social media. So
Okay.
go up on the nyc.gov site. They actually have walk-ins now. You can do walk-ins. That's number one. Number two is that they're starting to do people who got their shot on a certain date, and I can't remember what that date was, the first shot, are now eligible for a second shot. So you'd have to go up. If you call my office and we can get you a specific response, that'd be great. It's 718-544-8800, or you can send an email to district29@council.nyc.gov, and we'll just take care of you. And also, I also want to let you know that Northwell, because I had spoken to them months ago when I was involved with all of this stuff, and I had my hearing on monkeypox, and they have some. I don't know if they still do, but that may be an option as well.
Great. And just want to confirm, and this will be my last point, is I did my first shot in the Bronx because there was no options for me in Queens. There was no appointments. There was no options. Can you do your second shot in Queens? Because the person who gave you my shot said that we can't decide where to go for our second round.
Call my office and then we'll call DOHMH for you.
Perfect.
And we'll figure that out.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Lynn, just to clarify, there's no longer a prioritization. If you haven't gotten your first shot, you should just go get your first shot. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right.
Correct,
Thank
because
you for that.
what is just so I can explain what has happened, there's still a shortage of vaccines, but the rate of cases has gone way down. So they have an opportunity to do that. That's number one. Number two is that there was a change in the formula of the vials so that there's a way to give the shot that you can use less of the vaccine, but it's still as the strength is still the same, but it's a different way to give a vaccination. And so they're using that, and it extends the lifetime of the vaccines, and there are more vaccines available as a result.
Okay, thank you. And the last two questions, the first will go to Karen, the second will go to Karen Imus, the second will go to Martha Tucker. Karen, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my video here. Apologize. Thank you, Lynn, for the briefings and for the comments on the flooding that took place. Really important in Central Queens. You know, we're coming up on the 10th anniversary of Hurricane Sandy next month, and you know, so much of the focus has been on coastal areas as needed for sure. But we're seeing so much more inland where there's all sorts of infrastructure, drainage issues, like in Central Queens. And I just wanted to highlight one piece of legislation. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's pending in the council. It's a bill related to something called backwater valves. And this is something that could be installed in your basement that prevents the sewer water from coming up. And you know, the issue for many homeowners or building owners is some of these retrofits are pricey. And you know, much like the city or the state incentivize things like solar panels or other infrastructure in your home these days that you can get rebates on and whatnot, there's really a need to think about how to help homeowners or building owners make these retrofits, because there's kind of a two-pronged thing going on, which is obviously the city needs to upgrade its sewer infrastructure, but there are things that can be retrofitted in one's home or one's building. So I just wanted to flag that backwater valve legislation as something that you know, I think is worthwhile and something that would be great for maybe the board to be educated on a little bit.
No, absolutely.
Thank
Do you
you.
have, if you could get me the intro number, that would be helpful.
Actually,
Yeah,
Lynn, I have
absolutely.
Lynn, I have that for you. It's intro number 0076-2022. It's Justin Brannon's bill.
Yeah, thanks, Heather. That's awesome.
I think I'm on that, but Kevin will double check. Kevin does my ledge stuff, ledge work also. So
Great.
he'll take a look at that. And also, while Karen is on, I did want to say, totally forgot, but there's going to be an imminent announcement. We're just working out the details with the mayor's office on the Queensway, so stay tuned.
Okay. And the last question is going to go to Martha Tucker. Martha?
Hi, thank you so much. Can you hear me? Thank you
Yes,
so
I can.
much, Lynn, for being a part of this and listening to us. I unfortunately was devastated by Sandy. I have a homeowner, a tree in front of my house landed on my car and the roof, and boom. And this time around, my basement was flooded, and that was my home office space, laundry room, so forth. We were told to send in a form to the DEP. The DEP then told us a couple of weeks ago that no one will be compensated. They didn't even send inspectors because it was a natural flooding zone. I want to let you know that we are still being affected by this today. I had knee-deep water in my basement, and now, during the course of the summer, my water heater is rusted, and there's nothing I can do about it. And that's repair is going to cost $5,000 to do. So we're still being affected by something that happened. And the insurance company denied me. As a matter of fact, I was kicked off the insurance company because I put in a claim. And it's just very unfortunate that there's nothing to protect homeowners. And I don't know, I kind of feel violated by the insurance company and by the city. I mean, obviously, you know that there's an issue, but again, it's a natural disaster that's not covered. We pay all this money for insurance, and now I'm $5,000 in a hole for a water heater that I have to do a year later. So thank you for listening to me. Thank you.
Martha, if you can, I don't know what we might be able to do, but call my office. And we'll see if there's something specific. I do know, so a couple things. One is, and I think people are aware that the comptroller's office, which during Ida said, hey, everybody should write to us and we'll see what, we'll compensate you in some way. They've denied every single claim because of some archaic 1906 ruling or something. We're taking a look at that. So, and I'm talking to the comptroller about that as well. That's number one. Number two, after Storm Ida last year, because I'm aware of a lot of the things that have gone on. Grace Meng and I went door to door in parts of Forest Hills, and I'll never forget, there was a gentleman who answered his door who told me he had a 3-year-old son, and he was scared because there was a sewer rat that had come into his house and they couldn't find it. They had a webcam set up. DEP came, did a search. He had an exterminator come in, but every day they would see on the cam a sewer rat in the living area. So that's the type of stuff. I mean, we need to make sure that that kind of stuff doesn't happen anymore.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much, council member, for coming tonight and speaking with us. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate the work that you're doing for our district. So thank you again, and thank you, board members, for all of your questions. And also thank you for the comments that you made at the top of your report tonight. We truly appreciate it. We love serving our community as much as you do. And we all are just doing our level best to serve our neighborhoods. So thank you again.
All right, you're welcome. Bye, guys. Oh,
Have a good evening.
Kevin from my staff is still on. I just have to leave.
Okay, great. We love Kevin.
All right, bye.
Good night. Okay, next up is the chair's report. So basically for my report tonight, you could sort of say this is sort of like a what did you do on your summer vacation community board edition. Suffice to say, Frank and I spent a great deal of time this summer monitoring the status of the governor's emergency order. And if you don't know, earlier this week, the governor elected to not renew her emergency order. For us, this means that board meetings will be in person starting in October. We understand that some of you have circumstances that will make this move a challenge. The Bylaws Committee, in conjunction with the Borough President's Office, has put together a resolution that will address some of those circumstances. Later in the meeting, John will walk us through the resolution and we will vote on it. You will also have an opportunity to ask any questions. Regarding committee meetings, they will continue online until further notice when we have established a much greater understanding of logistics. So please be on the lookout in your emails for details regarding our October meeting, probably later in September once we've ironed every wrinkle out. In July and August, we had preliminary meetings with 2 organizations. This sort of ties in with what the council member said with the Queens Link and the Queens Way that are interested in revitalizing the Long Island Railroad Rockaway Beach branch line. Some of you may remember previous presentations regarding this line from quite some time ago. We anticipate that this board will be deliberating on this in the future. So we are working and have been working diligently to ensure we have all the information we need when we deliberate so that we can do it efficiently when that time comes. We also worked with the New York Health and Hospitals to get a COVID-19 testing ban. And our district hadn't had a city-sponsored site for a long time. We had all those little tiny pop-up sites here and there right outside of, for instance, Citibank on Austin Street, but we didn't have a city site. So we worked with New York Health and Hospitals, and they sent us a van. And the van is still here. The van is still down by McDonald Park. It moves around as it would because it tries to find parking just like most of the rest of us do in this community. And then speaking of McDonald Park, we were also very glad to participate in Night Out Against Crime. Thank you to Heidi Chain for all of the hard work that goes into that event. It seems all-consuming, so thank you for that. And the district manager and I also continue to work with the Borough President's Office in the state of New York on the legal sale of cannabis that will be starting next year, and continuing to learn and understand what our role, if we will have a role in that process. So we're continuing to sort of plug in and learn everything we can possibly learn as it comes down from the state. And then lastly, as many of you may know, we conducted a survey of the community spending priorities. We received over 220 responses to that survey, and we will be sharing the results at a later date. And I just have to say, I have to thank all the chairs and the committees that met over the summer. We really appreciate your dedication to the community and for taking time that is designated as off time to serving this board. We really appreciate it. There are many, many other things and items we could share tonight, but we have a very packed agenda. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to the district manager for the district manager's report. Frank, the floor is yours.
Heather, I have my hand raised. I have one quick question. Any idea?
Yes, Elizabeth.
Hi, good evening. Any idea where the in-person meeting in October will be? Will we be going back to the 8002 building?
We have been off and on as we've been looking at this. We've been looking at locations. That location is a big question mark right now. We can't say for sure where we're going to go. We are looking for a space that will not just fit us, but fit the public that attends our meetings, and also a space that will allow us some space to space out so that people are comfortable being back together again, because we are a large body. We're 50 people, give or take. And so as soon as we have that information, we will let you know. But we couldn't lock in a location until we knew for sure that we would need one. And we found out 2 days ago that we are going to need one for sure. So after this meeting, a lot of our attention is going to be placed in figuring that part out. But we will let you know.
Thank you, Heather.
You're very welcome, Elizabeth. So Frank?
Hi. Thank you, Heather. We were very busy this summer, right? So welcome back, folks. I can't wait until October, and hopefully we'll have a nice meeting place, Liz. I'm not sure where it will be, but I've been all week working on some places. Please, if somebody recommends something to you, we do have requirements, ADA accessible, et cetera, et cetera. So give me a buzz, and I'll be sure to fill you in. The logistics this time around will be different, okay? As Heather tried to say a little while ago. Committee meetings, yeah, they'll be virtual immediately, but the logistics again of that will change drastically. They gave me 3 different types, okay? So I'll be working on that along with our chair and the other 13 community boards, which brings me to my meetings today. Today we met with over 7 different city agencies working on the 2024 borough budget consultation. That's 2024. Lynn mentioned a little while ago how the November plan will be out real soon. They're telling us there's a 3% cut this year, a 4.3% next year, and the outer years it gets worse. I'm only hoping the stock market and our mayor, they find money, because it could mean, and I don't want to say this out loud, but you know what it could mean to staffs throughout the city of New York. It happened before a couple of years ago. We were ready to lay off people in our office, and we are the smallest city agency. I hope and pray it doesn't come to that. We'll see what happens, and we're on top of that. Okay, as far as I wanted to mention this to Karen and Lane. I've been waiting 10 years for that valve. You all know that I was a victim of Sandy, very, very bad. 2 cars on fire in my driveway, house underwater. I'm still waiting. I'm glad I didn't hold my breath for that little situation. So Lynn, Kevin, you're there. Make sure and I'll make sure I'll add my extra 2 cents to that. As far as where we're headed right now, we are headed towards a really serious time with the budget. So I know you guys, the chairs will be meeting with Heather and myself with regard to the survey, with regard to a request. My budget hearings from last year and this year, if you remember, each agency makes a request. I'll certainly be letting everybody know what that request is. Certainly serious times for us. Definitely. I appreciate all the committees over the summer doing their thing. It really meant a lot to us. We were one of the few community boards that didn't take, as somebody said to me the other day, oh, you take a vacation. No, we didn't take a vacation, and we never did. But thank you. You know where we are. I have a great staff. I have a great board. I appreciate all of you and your input and passion, even though we agree to disagree. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon. In person.
And real quick, just because somebody takes a vacation, if you really have a problem with that, you need to check yourself.
Yeah, thanks.
Can I say something real quick? I wanted to piggyback on what Elizabeth inquired about a few minutes ago. I read in the Queens Daily Eagle last week that Queens Community Board 2 is going to continue holding their meetings virtually, and they have not met in person since March 2020.
I read the same thing, Latrice. I read exactly the same thing. Community
so let me
Board 2
explain
is
that.
going virtual for a while.
Given that we have not secured a space.
No, not anymore. This is the governor's executive order. If you want to break the law, I'll read your name in the New York Post.
I don't want to
Seriously.
break the law, and I don't want to
Board
encourage
2,
anyone
if you
to
let me
break the law.
finish, Latrice, Board 2, if you look at their meeting dates, for example, right now, we should be in person by law. But because we have a 2-week window that we have to get the notices out legally, okay, we snuck it in and thank God we did, because we don't have a place. Each board is unique. Each board literally does their own thing, although, or I should say, even though we follow the charter of, which
Yeah, the open
really
meetings
lists
law.
out
I understand
everything.
that.
So,
But my point was that given that we have yet to even lock down a place to meet, maybe, just maybe, we should continue meeting virtually until we secure a place, because October 12th is not far away.
no,
That
not
was
going
the
to
whole.
happen.
We've
Can't
been,
happen.
yeah, just so
Yeah.
everyone understands, Frank has been looking all summer at different places and has been sort of, not, I wouldn't say wheeling and dealing, but, you know, wheeling and dealing with different places as to their capacity, their availability. And we've just been sort of waiting for the trigger to come. Regarding Community Board 2, that article was written prior to the governor's order. I would wait and see what other boards do now on the other side of that. That article came out last week. The governor elected not to renew her emergency order just 2 days ago on Monday. So we're going to have to wait and see. We are consulting with the borough president's office that does provide guidance to all community boards in Queens. So we are all being given the same guidance. We are all, and it is so it's being consistently disseminated throughout the borough. So we are, and we will have a place. It's just a matter of nailing it all down.
Yeah, Latrice, just so you know, and everybody else, I mean, we have met traditionally for the past 15, 20 years over at the Darth Vader building, 8002 Kew Gardens Road, literally forever. But they have changed the rules, the way they use their entrance. This has been a major problem because they are, we could only use the back entrance, which is dark. It's terrible. The elevator only holds 4 people. The security, there is none. Today, Councilmember Lynn Shulman, myself, and Heather, we wrote a letter to the management company who's not only giving us a hard time about using the old senior center, but also another community board and another civic. So that's the situation. And I'll just tell you real briefly, we have looked at Queensborough Hall. Don't hold your breath, but they don't have Wi-Fi. And how am I supposed to communicate with everybody? So there are issues. Hopefully they'll be resolved real soon because they have to be. And if anybody wants to give me a call, and don't put it on Twitter or Facebook or anything, give me a call. I'll certainly fill you in on where we're at. Thank you. Hi, Nicia.
Thank you. Any other questions before we move on? Okay. Okay, very good. Now we're going to move into a presentation from the Department of Sanitation. I'd like to welcome Michael, if I'm saying this wrong, Michael, forgive me, Colacurto?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm Michael. I'm from the Department of Sanitation. I'm filling in for Joe, who's the usual Queens guy. Any issues you have about any sanitation related issues, you could contact me or Joe, and we'll be glad to help you out. I'm just going to share my screen. I have like a tiny little PowerPoint. We're going to go through the new curbside composting, and we will answer any questions in regards to that. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, bear with me. I'm new to WebEx, so. So basically, we have curbside composting coming to Queens. It will be starting on October 3rd. It is the first Monday of the month. What is curbside composting? Basically, we're going to get any leaf or yard waste, food scraps, soiled food paper, and just make compost out of it. It's beneficial to everyone involved. Us, you, we'll be able to mitigate some rat issues that people are having as well. You know, with the bins, they are sealed tight. So having those food scraps not in plastic bags helps a lot. Curbside composting coming to Queens. Basically, we want to separate leaf and yard waste. We'll put that in a label bag, paper bag, or like an online bin. I know you guys had a question where I think I saw something about leaf pickup for you guys. Basically, you're not going to have to worry about leaf pickup because it's going to happen every week. Food scraps and food soil paper products, you could put in a bin with a secure lid. We will supply labels if you need one. You could go on our website, nyc.gov/composting bin decal. Where you could request a label and we will send you one. If you need a bin, you could also request a free one by October 1st, 2022. And that's on nyc.gov/curbside composting. All buildings with 10 plus people, units, will automatically receive their bin. If your super has any questions, you could feel free to call our community affairs customer service and we'll be glad to help them out. So it does start on October 3rd. It'll run into December. That's when we're going to stop it briefly until March, and then we will resume it then. Any tips, you could check out this website that I mentioned before. It has a lot of questions on there that could be answered if you didn't hear them. Sorry, I missed a slide here. Okay, basically this tells you what you can and what you cannot compost. It's pretty self-explanatory. Food waste, dairy products, meat, fish, bones, paper plates, not the wax version though, paper coffee filters, stuff like that goes in with that food scraps in that brown bin, and leaves and yard waste go on a separate thing. Again, do not put in diapers, animal waste, wrappers or packaging, foam products, and obviously do not put in recyclables. Also, do not put in dog waste or animal waste in there. And why do we compost? Keeps our neighborhoods clean and healthy. We're using these secure bins, so we won't have the rats get into the bags. So that helps out a lot. And it makes New York more self-sufficient, more resilient. We're going to be taking garbage away from landfills. We're going to be making it into compost, and we're going to be giving it back to those neighborhoods that are composting as well. So that's super beneficial to everyone. And how to participate. Basically, if you are a New York City resident, you can participate. It is not mandatory, but is highly encouraged. We really appreciate it. You can use your own containers to do this. I know you can maybe like get a container. I know at work we put one in the freezer. So any of the food scraps that we have, we throw in the container in the freezer so it doesn't smell. Basically, it doesn't cause any odors, no ants or anything like that could get to it. And basically, we do it once a week where we will compost our our food scraps. Also, your collection date. Now, it's not officially out published. It will coincide with your recycling day. So when you have your recycling day, you will also have your compost pickup day. Basically, if you want to take this information, this is my information. You could call me or email me. I will also, you can also contact Joe, who's the usual Queens guy, who handles your area, but I'm glad to help out anyone who needs any help. Any questions you guys have? I'll be also
Hi, Mr. Colacorto. This is Elizabeth Newton, one of the community board members. I just want to say that I live in an apartment building. There's 6 floors and approximately 10 apartments per floor. So that's a pretty large building. And I think that your agency has already started to roll out those bins, because I saw a bin in front of my building about 2 weeks ago, looked exactly what in like the picture that you had shown. And I was just wondering, is one bin sufficient for a building of that size, or will we get more than one?
I guess you guys could see how it starts off. If you do need a new bin, you could either call me and I will try to either find the answer for you, request another bin based on how much compost scraps you do produce. And we could try to get you on replacement, okay, or an additional.
Thank you.
Sure.
Also, I see Anicia and then Peter Beadle.
Hi, Michael. Thank you for your presentation. But I'm going to be very truthful, saying that this program was created to fail. You starting this system and you're going to stop it in December. That's number one. I live in a co-op place that we have 1,049 apartments. You just drop one container. I've been going through the manager's office and they refuse to do it. And on top of that, you just send one container and you told them that if they want more containers, they have to buy it.
Okay,
so we're going to have a lot of resistance, especially in Queens with so many co-ops, that I don't think this program is going to be successful. Thank you.
I definitely understand your frustration. Again, we really can't force anyone to do it right now. We're not making it mandatory. Is that something in the future? I'm not sure. Is it a possibility? Maybe, maybe not. We really hope that people do participate and, make this thing work. But again, we can't force anyone to do it right now.
Could you explain, I think, the follow-up on Anicia's question, why we're stopping it and restarting it? Because as somebody who's a home cook myself, I don't use any less produce in December, especially around the holidays, than I do right now. So I'm kind of wondering sort of the thoughts on the pause.
Maybe. I think part of it is because of the snow, and we want to have all hands on deck available to remove snow during those times. That is probably the number one priority. Again, there are, possibly like things that they could go, I'm not saying things are going wrong, but you can make adjustments. Maybe they use that period to see what's going on, how people are doing it, what people are doing, and maybe we can make adjustments from that time period to reestablish come March.
Thank you for that clarification. Next is Peter Beadle.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, that was sort of going to be my question as well. I mean, the snow clearing excuse, we have about 5 snow events a year, and everybody understands if you're going to suspend collection because you need all hands on deck for snow removal. I'd assumed that the reason that you were creating that sanitation was making the suspension was because they envisioned that a lot of the composting is from yard waste. And in some parts of Queens, that's true. In other parts, like where I and Heather and several others of us live, we're in very dense areas. There's very little yard waste coming out of our 120 unit buildings. And so I wonder if something you can take back is a consideration that in those dense areas, the routes that cover dense neighborhoods, where it's going to be much more food scraps versus yard waste, if those routes could continue through the winter period. So I'll just put that idea out there on the table for you all to take back.
That's a great point that you did bring up. I will refer back to the higher ups again, because there are areas that definitely have a lot more trees than others and produce a lot more yard waste than others. And I'm not sure if they're going to use that time period for an adjustment to see maybe, hey, this area produces 10 times much yard waste. Maybe we should adjust something here or something like that.
Thank you for that. Next is Mark Laster.
Again, Michael, thank you for your presentation. I just want to kind of piggyback on what you said, that it's not mandatory. I just want to point out that in the city council, there are a number of bills pending to try to move towards zero waste. And one of the bills would make composting mandatory. So we're hoping, and again, I think it's great that sanitation is rolling this out. And I strongly encourage all my neighbors and friends to please take advantage of it. I think you've heard some of the challenges that, again, 1 bin per co-op. We have gotten feedback from sanitation saying that's it. We're only getting 1 bin, whether you have 10 units or 1,000 units. And again, the pause. So understanding those are challenges, still, I think we need to send the message. And I do have concerns because, yeah, it's great. It's not great that you're pausing it and you're now kind of saying it's going to restart in March. But meanwhile, at the beginning of this meeting, we heard the mayor is already proposing cuts. And if a program started and it stopped and then it's supposed to restart, I mean, it'd be really easy to say, sorry, no money. So again, that's even a stronger argument about why hopefully we can push to have this continued and the points being made again in our neighborhood, which is more concentrated with co-ops. And I can also share with you, and I can tell you the story of my co-op. My brown bin was delivered here. I've approached my co-op board and I've asked them twice, where's the brown bin? And I confirmed with sanitation it was delivered. And basically the co-op is refusing to respond to me. So not even telling me that they're kind of putting it aside. And I don't think that experience is unique because we know that there is resistance within co-ops. So again, that's my little pitch now. Thank you.
Definitely understand. I'll refer that to my higher ups as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Michael, thank you so much for this presentation tonight. As somebody who has personally lugged 15 pounds of compost to the Union Square Green Market to drop it off with Grow NYC, I am really happy to no longer have to lug 15 pounds of frozen compost into the city. So thank you so much for this. Thank you for answering all of our questions tonight. We know that this is something new, something that we're going to continue to get better. We're going to continue to learn from. So we're excited to see where this goes from here. This is a good start, but as you've heard, and some of the folks, just so you understand, have actually been working in volunteer composting operations here in the borough, in our community. So again, thank you so much for coming tonight. We really, really, really appreciate it. And thank you for everything you do for us on the daily. So have a wonderful night, and you can feel free to stay if this is kind of your idea of a fun Wednesday night. Otherwise, enjoy your dinner and anything else that you're going to do tonight.
Probably gonna put my daughter to sleep. But thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. Again, any questions you have, whether it be related about composting or not, feel free to reach out. Again, I might not have the answer there, but I will find out the answer for you, or Joe will help you out as well. Thank you for having me, and we really want encourage the participation. I think that will be the most beneficial part about about this rollout.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Heather, it's Elizabeth. Before we move on, I have a text from Miriam Burfus, and she said that she had her hand up and she had a quick question before the sanitation department speaker started, and she's asking for a moment after NYC sanitation. So can you just hear from
Yeah,
her?
she can ask the question now. Sure.
Okay. Miriam, are you there? Miriam, I'm going to text her, ask you a question.
Miriam, I think you're muted.
Miriam, are you there?
She's there. She's not. She's muted.
Yeah, there she is. There she is.
Her sound isn't coming in.
I'm sorry, Miriam, we really can't hear you.
Can you text your question?
Yeah, Miriam, that's a great idea, Heather. Miriam, it's Elizabeth. Text me your question, and I will give it to Heather.
And just so we're clear, when you physically raise your hand, I cannot see you. WebEx can only let me see 6 people at a time. I'm one of them. I don't need to see myself, but that's all I see. So if you're physically raising your hand, I cannot see you. That's why we say to use the raise hand function. It's usually on the bottom of the screen. Like I said before, it looks like a pineapple, kind of like. Miriam, can you mute yourself, please?
I think she is. Miriam, unmute yourself.
No, she needs to be
don't
muted.
Unmute.
Don't unmute, because when she unmutes, you get that echo.
Oh, okay.
There's
So
something
how should
wrong
you
with
talk
Miriam.
then?
Yeah, there's something wrong with Miriam's audio. Miriam, if you could please text your question for someone else to ask.
And if we could do that quickly, because we need to move on to the land report.
I just text her to text me her question. I don't know, Heather, if you want to move on, and then when she texts me, I'll just.
Yeah, let's take it. We'll take the question after the land use here. Thank you. Okay, not hearing. I'm sorry. On the land use committee report. Okay, first I want to make a point that to please note that this committee held a public hearing on the BSA application for 8594 66th Road back on August the 8th. We will begin tonight's report with written public comments that were submitted to us relating to this BSA application. The testimony will be read and timed using the same time restrictions from the top of the meeting. Even though the testimony is being read by board leadership, it does not reflect the viewpoint of board leadership. Also, please note that the board has been served a petition in opposition to this application to the project with 360 signatures, give or take. There are a variety of public comments that Keith and I are going to read tonight. Mark, if you could time us as you normally do. Keith, I know you were going to start with the testimony for Otto Lamb. Due to technical difficulties, Mary Franklin was not able to testify, but she was able to email us her written testimony. So I will read that to start, and then Keith, we will start in the order that these were submitted. Okay, does that work, Keith?
That works for me, yes.
Okay, great. So this testimony is from Mary Franklin, and Mark, if you could time me, that would be fantastic. According to the rabbi, he has a congregation of 25 families. Without a variance, he can build a synagogue to hold his congregation for a total of 106 worshipers. However, the rabbi is asking for more. He wants to expand the property line in the rear, sides, and front. The building will be massive, one that is out of context with our small residential block of Tudor-style homes, and one that will create a hardship for residents. He wants to build a structure that will hold more than 350 worshipers. This number is based on his predictions of his future worshipers. If allowed, the oversized structure will bring more people into the neighborhood, taking away parking spaces and causing overcrowding and congestion on our small residential block. I understand the granting of a variance when there is a need, and it does not negatively affect the quality of life for the neighborhood. However, this is an overreach, as the current congregation does not need such a large building. Furthermore, the majority of residents in the community will not use the building. In fact, at least 367 families will not use the building and signed a petition stating their opposition to granting a variance. The community board has an obligation to the community to address our concerns. Additionally, the proposed building will operate 7 days a week from early morning till evening. This is certain to bring in more vehicular and foot traffic. There are simply not enough parking spaces or sidewalk space to accommodate crowds of 350 people. I understand that on Sabbath the congregants do not drive. However, the other 6 days they do. Traffic reports have been analyzed by the board to ensure our safety, and there has been an increase in accidents in the immediate area. This is partly because GPS diverts traffic from Woodhaven Boulevard onto our side streets. Recently, speed bumps were installed on Fitchett to try and alleviate speeding cars. However, it has not alleviated the traffic. At an intersection that is only a half a block away from the proposed synagogue, a white painted bicycle marks the death of a cyclist only a few years ago. Only 9 months ago, an out-of-control car hit the retaining wall on the very property that is asking for the variance, causing the car to flip completely over. Had there been pedestrians, children playing, and worshipers standing in front of the proposed synagogue, there would have been serious injuries and/or deaths. Just 2 months ago, on the same block, a speeding car crashed into a small retaining wall and seriously injuring my neighbor who was driving home from work like he has done for the past 40 years. Both cars were totaled. If a person had been on the sidewalk, which they often are, with their children or pets, it would have been tragic. Knowing this and still granting a variance that will bring more people and traffic onto the small residential block is turning a blind eye on our community safety and well-being. Keith?
Can I ask a quick question? Where is this happening? What's the
I'm
address?
sorry. Herb, we're going to read the public comments and then we're going to get into
I'll circle back to.
into that. But
All right, so Heather,
the
yeah,
address,
it's been 3 minutes.
I know. Thank you. I was done. I was being asked a question and I was responding. The address is 8594 66th Road. It's on the out portion of the Crescent. We're going to continue to move through the rest of these public comments, and then we're going to get into the presentation from Keith. Keith, you can go ahead with Otto Lamb.
Absolutely. Thank you, Heather. So from Otto Lamb, I am writing to express my strong objection to the granting of a variance for the proposed house of worship reference number 2020-64-BZ at 85-94 66 Road in Regal Park. My partner and I just purchased a house across the street from the aforementioned property, and this proposal was not known to us until a week after closing. We chose to live here because it is a quiet and peaceful residential neighborhood, and we are a young couple looking to start a family. The proposed large building will interfere with the character of the neighborhood that we were drawn to. It will negatively impact the quality of life of its residents due to the following reasons. One, it will dramatically increase the amount of foot traffic, as the proposed building will be able to accommodate 350 plus people in a small residential side street, which will cause overcrowding. Two, with services running 7 days a week, from early in the morning to the evening, it will disrupt the quiet and tranquility of the neighborhood. And three, the number of parking spaces in the neighborhood will decrease, which can create a hardship for the elderly and persons with disabilities who are currently able to park in front of their homes. In addition, the proposed property also presents some safety concerns, as 66 Road is a residential side street with narrow sidewalks that are not designed to accommodate large crowds of people. Pedestrians would have to walk on the street and increase their risk of getting into a motor vehicle accident. I'm concerned about the safety of our children, the elderly, and persons with disabilities in the community. Had we known that this proposal was already close to fruition, we may not have chosen to live in this neighborhood. Please consider my concerns as well as those of the community and do not grant this variance. Next, a public comment is from Norman Ng. And he states, I wish to address this topic on behalf of a group of homeowners in the area. The proposed size and location seems unsuitable for the anticipated attendance. We have about 16 synagogues around our area. We have created a report of those places of worship in the area. Based on our research, almost all of them are larger buildings than the requested variance, in addition to being in partly commercial areas, also with their parking spaces. For this small street and for such a big building without parking spaces, it seems like there are no similar cases before in our area with a capacity for this many, 363 people. Usually is a very big building and would have their own parking space or area with parking. That is the reason why a variance is being requested, but I do not see that there has been such a case like this in this area before. We have to remind all Community Board 6 members, you do not have enough support from us to allow to build such as big of a building on our small street. All Community Board 6 members should review our research report and signatures before they vote for us. I can also provide at least 367 people with their signatures in the area that do not support this building project. We also found another synagogue within a 15-minute walking distance with additional parking spaces, so the argument that this building is meeting an unmet need is simply not true. Once again, we request all Community Board members to review our report and signatures before they vote for us. Next public comment, and we can restart the clock, is from Rick Quenzer. As a homeowner on 66 Road, I oppose the non-residential construction on a residential block at 85-94. The building is out of character with a single-family, one-level private homes in the area. A two-story plus cellar structure with an oversized footprint would dominate the surrounding area and would forever change the aesthetic of the whole neighborhood. I also oppose the use of any public parking spaces on the street for the reserved or private use of this address, lest we forget this is a public street. This would infringe on the rights of the homeowner and would decrease property values. Would anyone buy a house he didn't have the right to park in front of? The proposed use is 7 days a week from 6:40 a.m. continuously until sunset, causing a constant flow of pedestrian and vehicular disturbance for the majority of residents, not conducive to the current lifestyle. Mr. Goldstein has stated that, in quotes, these congregates are local community members and would be walking to a local synagogue even if this building was not constructed, end quote. This tells us that there is an alternative to this obtrusive structure and a lack of necessity for this construction. As a veteran, I cannot comprehend that in America we would ever say one person has more right than another person. Wasted 2 years of my life defending that belief. The democracy that I was born into and fought to preserve was governed by the majority, exemplified by our Congress and our Senate. If allowed, this structure would forever deter any quality of life for the majority of residents. It may be convenient for a small group of people, but not for the majority of the people. Heather, I'll pass it back to you with Violet Chen.
Thank you. This next one is from Violet Chan. I am writing to express my objection to the granting of a variance for the proposed synagogue/house of worship. I'm not going to give the address because we've done that before. I believe the variance should not be granted for the following reasons. The building of this size and capacity will be out of character on the blocks of beautiful little homes around the neighborhood. The services and activities will run from early morning to evening, will surely bring a lot of noise, foot and car traffic to the quiet neighborhood. It will disrupt the tranquility and quality of life in the area. It will also increase the risk of traffic accidents and create traffic congestion around the surrounding areas. Such a large commercial-like structure does not fit in a small residential side street like 66 Road. The narrow sidewalks cannot really accommodate foot traffic for 50 people, not to mention 350 people as proposed. I would appreciate if you can have someone read my letters aloud at the community board, which we are doing tonight, Violet. Thank you. Next is a letter from Kathleen and Andrea Lynch. 66 Road is only 2 blocks long, Woodhaven Boulevard to Alderton Street. This residential block consists of mostly attached and semi-attached 1- and 2-family homes with a narrow sidewalk and tree pit. To grant a variance to allow a large structure on the existing lot size is unjustifiable. This oversized structure would be squeezed among our homes and would change the character of our neighborhood and affect the quality of life of the residents on 66 Road and the residents on neighboring blocks as well. 66 Road simply cannot absorb the impact of this variance build with increased pedestrian, vehicular, and parking congestion 7 days a week, beginning at 6:40 a.m. and continuing throughout the day with services as well as group and individual study sessions and class lectures. Here is the math. As of right building, the cellar would have 36 people, first floor 36 people, second floor 30 people, for a total of 102 people. The proposed variance building would have a cellar which would equal 105 people, first floor 142 people, second floor 116 people, which comes to a total of 363 people. Does the increased number from 102 as of right versus 364 as a variance build add up to a fair or unfair hardship on the taxpaying homeowners on 66 Road based upon our list of quality of life issues put forth above? Community Board 6 members, what is the logical answer? The next one is from Alyssa Valestra. I recently moved to Rego Park. I was unaware of this proposed large building that will possibly be built in my neighborhood. Not only was I unaware, I was even more shocked that the size of the proposed building is anticipated to hold 350 plus people. The increase in foot traffic due to the proposed large building will cause overcrowding on our residential street. This is a residential area and the current home on the lot was built for single family. Granting the variance for this proposed large building will not only cause increased crowd/congestion, but cause a serious safety issue as well. I am concerned that the largening of the property will cause people to walk on the street as the sidewalks are already narrow to begin with, making it unsafe for pedestrians as cars drive along the road. My partner and I, who recently moved into this lovely home in Rego Park, fell for the neighborhood's quiet, charming character. The size of the proposed building is out of character with the rest of the homes on the block, which will destroy the very reason why we moved here in the first place. If I had known that this large building would be built, my neighborhood, I would never have moved here at all. I would have never moved here at all. Next, Keith, is Kevin.
Okay, and I'll take it with Kevin Sullivan's comment. So please take into consideration my strong objection to granting a variance for the proposed large building, as well as taking into consideration more than 300 plus and counting people in the community who strongly object to this as well. Please take into consideration the welfare of the community. I own and live in a house near the proposed synagogue on 66 Road. My neighbors and I fear that the proposed synagogue would bring excessive noise, foot and vehicular traffic, and congestion to our quiet neighborhood. During the August 8th committee meeting, board members claimed that they have not overwhelming quality of life complaints connected with other small synagogues in the district. Do you really think that a building with a capacity of 363 people is small? We certainly don't. According to our research, there aren't any comparably sized synagogues on quiet streets in our district. We've asked the community board to send us the addresses and capacities of the other small synagogues in our area that they referred to during the August 8th meeting. Apparently, the board members don't believe in transparency, accessibility, and accountability because they refuse to present evidence to support their claim. Jay Goldstein wrote, in quotes, "These congregates are local community members and would be walking to a local synagogue somewhere in the surrounding area even if the proposed building were not constructed. Therefore, the pedestrian traffic generated by the synagogue in the overall neighborhood will be no more than what presently exists." End quotes. We don't object to hundreds of congregates walking to a synagogue on a main street in our neighborhood, but we do object to hundreds of congregates converging on a narrow sidewalk on a quiet side street. Likewise, we don't object to hundreds of people converging on the movie theaters on main streets in our area, but we would object to shoehorning a movie theater into a quiet street. I can't understand the difference between hundreds of people converging on a main street and hundreds of people converging on a quiet street. Perhaps you don't deserve a seat on the community board. Please vote against the variance for the proposed synagogue. And I'll pass it back to you, Heather, for Yidi.
The next testimony is from Yili Liu. I am a senior citizen and living in 66 Road, Rego Park. I respect the Jewish tradition and religion. However, I still disagree with having such a big synagogue on 8594 66 Road. The reasons are: one, we never have a synagogue holding above 300 people in such a crowded street in our neighborhood. You can investigate all the synagogues in Rego Park and Forest Hills. Building such a big synagogue in such a narrow street will extremely reduce our quality of life. The size of the synagogue is beyond the Zoom variation, and it is hurting the entire community. We have about 400 residents signed disagree form. It echoes the community voice loudly. As the community board, you cannot neglect the majority opinions. My house is a corner house. If the size of the synagogue is so big, 300 above people will pass the sidewalk around my house. It will create the high risk of accidents. Who is going to pay the huge amount of liability? I am a senior citizen and a retiree. I cannot afford it. We have a lot of senior citizens in my street, and they share the same concerns with me. I hope that the community board will solve this very important issue before you approve the project. My neighbors and I tried to invite community board members to visit the crowded street and see if it is possible to pass 300 people 300 above people every day. I understand that the board members are all volunteer workers and I respect their service. However, the purpose of the service is for the better life of the residents and the community. If you see the life of the community, if you see the life quality of entire community has been lowered significantly, I believe you will strongly consider the disagree opinion of about 400 residents. Then lastly, from Patty Lee, Junkwai Lee, and Li Zhu, and please forgive me if I'm mispronouncing, I'm trying very, very hard. I am writing to express my strong objection to the granting of a variance for the purpose synagogue house of worship in Rego Park. I believe that the variance should not be granted for the following reasons. The proposed large building that takes up most of the lot will have a negative effect on the neighborhood in the following ways. The style of the proposed building does not go with the neighborhood and will change the character and charm of the neighborhood. The style of the building will take up space and that is now open sky because the present single family home has a sloping roof and is only 1.5 stories tall. The loss of green space is harmful to the environment. The proposed larger building is anticipated to hold 350 plus people. This is a residential area, and the current home was built for a single family. This will increase the amount of foot and car traffic and negatively affect the neighborhood in the following ways. There is not enough room on 66 Road, a small residential side street, to accommodate 350 plus people. It will cause overcrowding and congestion. Services running 7 days a week from early morning to evening will disturb the quiet and tranquility of the neighborhood. The number of parking spaces in the neighborhood will decrease, creating a hardship for residents, especially elderly persons with disabilities who are currently able to park in front of their homes, and increase the amount of garbage and trash accumulating on 66 Road, a small residential side street with narrow sidewalks. The risk of traffic accidents will increase. GPS diverts traffic from Woodhaven Boulevard, and speed bumps have been recently added to Fitchett Street. Still, we have had 2 collisions on 66 Road in the past 3 months. Additionally, a cyclist was killed half a block away at 66th Avenue and Fleet Street. I am concerned about the safety of the community, especially the pedestrians. With the increase in foot traffic and increase in the risk of property liability due to people falling, tripping, or otherwise on my property. In closing, please do not grant this variance. This is the end of the written public comments that we got tonight. And we are going to have a presentation from the lawyer for the synagogue, from Jay Goldstein. But Keith, if we could just put a pause, because this meeting has had a lot of moving pieces tonight. We have failed to take attendance. We need to quickly take attendance. So, and I'm going to try to get through this real quippy. So, as I call your name, say here or present. Christine, are you ready are you ready to go ahead and call the name?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Great. Michael Arcadi.
Here, but I think it'll go faster if you just see us on the screen. You just call the people you can't see.
We typically we would do that, but we have a reason for doing it this way tonight only.
Understood.
Sorry.
Okay, no worries.
Okay, so Michael Arcadi present. Anicia Ione. Anicia?
She's here.
Here, I'm
She's
sorry.
leaving.
No, it's okay. Kadish?
Here.
Peter Beadle?
Here.
Miriam Burfus? I see you, Miriam. You're gonna have to unmute. Howard Birnbaum?
Here.
Heidi Chain?
Here.
Sheridan Chu?
Here.
LT?
Here.
Kendra is out tonight. Alex Cohen?
Here.
Latrice? Latrice, I know you're here.
No,
Okay.
I am here. So,
Gotcha.
Okay, so I'm giving my vote back.
Nope, it's good. John Daraszewski?
Here.
John?
Here.
Okay. Alejandro Diaz Houston?
Here.
I am here. Keith Engel is Keith. You're here.
I'm here.
Okay. Serena Jane. Okay. Mark Lasser.
Here.
Beatrice Leong.
Here.
Jonathan.
Present.
Kevin.
Present.
Jack Medina. Okay. Dr. Renee. Okay, Stephen Metz?
He was here.
Yeah, he was here, Heather. Steve was here and
Okay.
he stepped away for a second.
Oh, you
Okay.
can hear me. Now you
Julie
can.
Miller?
Here's Steve.
Julie's here. Julie Milner's present.
Pat Morgan?
Here.
Okay. Elizabeth Newton, you're here. Tanya Paget?
I'm here.
Howard Pollack?
Here.
Diana Rocknayev?
Here. Here.
Jerry? Jerry?
Here.
Okay. Gladys?
Present.
Katrina?
Here.
David?
Here.
Herb, I know you're here. Jean Silva?
Yeah.
Great. Teresa?
Here.
Great. Dr. Tomyayev?
Here.
Irina Tomyayev? I don't see Irina. Okay. Martha Tucker?
I'm present.
Susan Wanderman, thank you.
Here.
Alexa Weissman?
Here.
Joan Weston's not here. Brentley?
Here.
Edwin Wong?
Here.
E.T.? T.T., I see your name. I don't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I do. I hear you now. Thank you. Okay. Thank you all so very much. So Keith, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Heather. So I'd like to now just take a step back and just frame the conversation on this particular application for our fellow board members. You've heard a lot of testimony. I just want to start by saying that for this month's Land Use, Housing, and Landmark Committee report, tonight we're going to hear the presentation of a BSE application from the applicant, Jay Goldstein, and we're going to vote upon it. This application was presented during the August 8th Land Use, Housing, and Landmark Committee meeting, where we also held a public hearing. Yes, a public hearing, excuse me. And if I may share a screen, just very briefly, I'll try to speed through this a little bit. Okay, so this application is BSA application number 2020-64-BZ for 85-9466 Road in Rego Park, which is a request for a variance from the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals, waiving sections 24-11 for lot coverage, 24-34 for front yard, 24-35 for side yards, and 24-36 for rear yard to permit the construction of a two-story plus cellar use group for synagogue within a R4 zoning district. And I will now unshare for a moment. So before we start, and just to frame tonight's conversation, I will mention that a synagogue is an as of right use within this particular residential zoning district. So tonight's conversation is purely one of scale. I'll also mention that in addition to the comments that Heather and I just read, we also received 18 public comments that were presented during the August 8th public hearing in the form of both spoken and written testimony. And I'll note that all of these public comments were against the development. I'll also mention that we received a petition from community members against the proposal with 367 signatures. And I would like to thank the members of the public who have spoken upon this application thus far. And with that, we'll now move on to a brief presentation on behalf of the applicant's Land Use Council, Jay Goldstein. Jay, you on?
How are you? Good evening, everybody.
Good. Feel free to intro yourself and start the presentation.
So let me know if you can see that.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So good evening. My name is Jay Goldstein. I'm here on behalf of the congregation, or Eliyahu and Rabbi David Akalov. The request before you is to permit the construction of a two-story and cellar community facility space, a synagogue. The congregation already exists in the community. It started in about 2015, and they've been praying out of the rabbi's house because there's just lack of space. They didn't have a facility that they could call their own, and they've been hamstrung in their growth, hamstrung in their ability to serve the congregation. So there is a need. The rabbi saw a need, and by virtue of the fact that we're going through this application, which is not a cheap process or, a cheap endeavor, there is definitely a need and an interest in this application. The application before you would seek to build, as mentioned, a two-story synagogue. The use itself is as of right. The requested waivers would be as to side yard, front yard, rear yard, and lot coverage. The existing home has a front yard of 10 feet, of 10 feet, and we're proposing 10 feet. The required is 15 feet. So the request before the board is to waive that additional 5 feet of front yard setback. The rear yard requires a 30-foot setback. However, with community facilities, you're allowed up to 23 feet of permitted obstruction in a rear yard. The proposed building is 25 feet. So we're really asking for a minimal waiver of that rear yard obstruction. In terms of side yards, we're proposing they're required 2 8-foot side yards, and we're proposing a 6-foot side yard and a 3-foot side yard. In response to comments from members of the board, we've actually added additional buffering and planting along the side yards, not within the egress path, to help with water runoff and absorption onto the site. The cellar level would have an occupancy of 105 people. This is really mainly used or anticipated for use as youth groups for the children of the congregation, as well as small functions by the members of the congregation. The first floor rather would have a main synagogue of 142 seats. For the men's section, it's an Orthodox synagogue. The men and the women pray in separate areas. They'll all be part of the same room essentially, but they'll be seated separately. And the second floor will have the women's section of 116 people rather. Again, the building itself is used primarily for the congregation for prayer services. We don't have classrooms. We're not proposing any large extra space or flex space that's not necessary to meet the needs and the anticipated needs of the congregation. Without these requested waivers, the building would be reduced to about 30 people per floor, which can't accommodate or can barely accommodate the existing, let alone any potential growth for this synagogue, which already exists in this immediate community. The hours of operation, it's not proposed to be 24/7. The hours of operation would be early morning prayers and a brief lecture, which would start at 6:40 a.m. with prayer at 7:30. And you wouldn't see the full 300 max capacity of this building. You'll see maybe 20 people. The evening services, which will happen depending on the time of year in the late afternoon to sundown, would again be at, depending on the time of year, one service for 20 people that already live and pray in this community. So we're asking that the board just approve these variances that will allow us to create a home for the synagogue so that it can accommodate these services to accommodate the members of the community that they represent. If there are any questions, I'm very happy to answer them.
So before we go on to questions and comments from board members, I just want to discuss how the committee members voted upon the application, and I'll share our recommendation. Just going to put up my.
I'm sorry. I do have my hand raised. I know it's very difficult for you to see. It's Elizabeth Newton again.
Elizabeth, yes.
Okay. So I don't know if this is a rumor, but you are aware, and this question is directed to Jay. So you are aware that there is a large synagogue on Queens Boulevard near the post office. Am I correct?
It's entirely possible. I'm not from this neighborhood.
Okay, you're not from this area. I lived in this area for 23 years. We have a post office, and next door to the post office is a large synagogue. My understanding is that that building is up for sale. I don't know if that synagogue is in a location where we do not have a lot of residents living in that area. It's not an inconvenience for it to be there. It's not a nuisance to be there. And it seems to accommodate quite a few members of the Jewish religion. I'm just wondering, one, are you aware of it? You said you aren't. Would that be an appropriate substitution, or is it already written in stone that this synagogue that you want to build has to be built and there are no other alternatives?
So first of all, I'd have to check on the location of that synagogue, because with Orthodox synagogues on Sabbath, when you'd see the large flux of people coming to that synagogue, They don't drive, so they would have to be within walking distance and a reasonable walking distance. This rabbi lives in this area and he has congregants in this immediate area, which is why they chose this location to service them. Secondly,
That's Forest Hills, right?
he lives in Regal Park, 2 blocks from the proposed synagogue. And then secondly, each synagogue has its own pedagogy. So you'll have a synagogue that follows one tradition, one path, has a rabbi that preaches or, gives sermons to one ideology, while other synagogues have different. So each synagogue should be able, in the neighborhood I live in, there are many synagogues within the neighborhood, have the ability to pray with a rabbi that they follow and based on their pedagogy and the leadership that they want to have from that rabbi. So therefore, going into another synagogue that's already existing, many times you'll have a conflict of existing members versus versus new members.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'm just saying it's right there. It doesn't seem like it's far away, and I'm just trying to get the address for you.
Liz, it's a totally different situation, but can Keith kind of finish what he was going to do first? They're totally different congregations. The Forest Hills Synagogue has already been sold, so it's not available. And it's a conservative.
Okay, well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that, Peter. Thank you.
It's
Okay, thank you.
conservative. This is
I'm
also
done. I'm done. I'm done. I didn't know that. I didn't know that it was already sold. I knew it was up for sale.
So I'll take it back from here. I see a number of hands in the chat, and I will circle back with you guys momentarily. I just want to share where the committee landed with this before we go ahead on to questions and comments and general discussion. I'm just going to share my screen 1 second, and then we can go from there. Can everyone see my screen? So basically, the committee recommendation was to approve the application with conditions, with the motion passing 15 yes, 2 no, and 0 abstaining. And the conditions are outlined on my screen right now, which is to provide for additional sound attenuation, to provide for light pollution attenuation, to provide for utility reduction and energy efficiency considerations for the building, to provide for enhanced stormwater reduction strategies, to maximize vegetation alongside the public right-of-way, and to provide for community outreach and point of contact for supervision of construction operations. I will note that we have shared our recommendation and conditions with the applicant as they were in the meeting when we were deliberating. So with that, let me go through the hands that I noted, starting with Howard Pollock. I think I saw your hand.
Yes, I just was going to speak to Elizabeth's information. Fortunately, Peter covered it. Totally inappropriate. It's apples and oranges. But thank you, Peter, for clarifying.
Thank you, Howard. Sherry, I saw your
I
hand.
didn't know that, and I don't think it was inappropriate. I think it was a reasonable question because we really need to take into consideration the needs of the community. And if it's going to be a problem for the residents in that area, it's something that we have to explore and ask questions about.
Elizabeth, to your point, you didn't have the information. Thank goodness Peter was there to provide it. So it's a moot point at this point in time, right? So let's move on.
Moving on with Sherry, I believe you had a question.
Oh, actually, it was just in response to the statement about the synagogue.
Okay.
It's already been said.
Okay. Thank you, Sherry. Stephen.
Yeah, so with the understanding that the congregations are different, of course, this is a Sephardic organization that's trying to build here, right?
Correct.
The only point, and this is a question, I'm not sure, there is a Sephardic Jewish center in Forest Hills already. Is that still in operation?
Yes, it is. It's the building that's right behind mine, Stephen. You're absolutely right, on 67 Drive.
Okay, is there a reason why, again, just a question, is there a reason why they can't use the Sephardic Jewish Center at 180?
So within Sephardic tradition, and I'm not of Sephardic tradition, but within Sephardic tradition, there are many, many different types of Sephardic congregations. Additionally, as stated before, many congregants have a rabbi that they view as their, spiritual leader that they want to, follow. So going into a separate congregation won't achieve your spiritual needs.
Okay. So with that understood, the second question I would have is, what is the current idea from this current congregation of, so they won't be able to drive for their Sabbath
Correct.
congregation, correct?
Mm-hmm.
What other issues are being seen with it? Because most of the community seems to be of the thought that the biggest issues are going to be parking or traffic. When it's not the Sabbath congregation, what is the number of people that we're thinking of coming into that area?
So as mentioned, during the weekday in the morning, you'll see maybe 20 to 30 people. As with a lot of synagogues where it is a local synagogue, you'll walk. I walk to my synagogue in the morning instead of driving because it's 3 blocks away or 4 blocks away, and I don't want to, take my car and go. So you'll have 20, 30 people. You'll have people who come together and you'll have people who do drive, but it's early in the morning. It won't be during rush hour, and it won't take away parking spaces that people are trying to find because at 6:30 in the morning, the parking spaces will likely be either vacant or utilized. So I don't think it'll pose the issue of you're taking away spots from us for our neighborhood because it'll be before, the rush over there.
Okay.
And the evening services likewise will be after the rush.
Okay. I think that's it from me. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Thank you, Stephen. Herbert, you have a question as well?
Yeah, it's part of the clarification again for the synagogue that's in another location. Besides the service being different, it's also the distance, and that's the main thing. The distance from this area to Queens Boulevard is they're not able to walk there, okay? So that's why there's separate synagogues all over the place. It's not like one central synagogue where people are going, or one synagogue in a certain section. There's multiple synagogues because of the walking situation. They want to be in walking distance from where they live. And the people live down there, down by Woodhaven in 66 is not anywhere near any other Sephardic Jewish center on Queens Boulevard or other synagogues. So there's a distance issue to it.
Thank you, Herbert. Peter, I see you have a question.
Just real quick, I just wanted to point out that when we talk about what the community wants, keep in mind that these congregants are members of that community. They walk there, they live there. And so that needs to be kept in mind as well, because I'm hearing a lot of discourse that almost makes them others, and they aren't. The other thing is to Elizabeth's point, I mean, I think it was very well intentioned, but there's also, and this comment isn't to Elizabeth, I think it's to everybody, maybe an insufficient appreciation of just how a lot of Jewish congregations work, and how different. You have Ashkenazi, you have Sephardic, you have Mizrahi, and then within each of those traditions, you have conservative, Reform, Orthodox. Within each of those, you have different. This is a terrible analogy, so apologies to my Jewish friends, but I think it gives a good picture. It's like saying, look, let's have the Methodists pray with the Presbyterians. Just doesn't work that way. So that's why this congregation that already lives in that community wants to make a space that's larger than their rabbis living.
I appreciate that clarification, Peter. Kevin.
Thank you, Keith. I have three items. I am concerned that the public concerns are not being addressed with the yes with conditions vote. Two, there will be more development coming to this part of Forest Hills and Regal Park. I know we have to treat each development case by case. However, I mean, we are about to be impacted with a major infrastructure project that will either be the Queensway or subway transit. I fear that the conditions or concessions being made in each of these projects do not adequately address fully or even partially the concerns of our neighbors. Three, my last concern is that there are only a few of us who live in this part of the neighborhood and are on the community board. Thank you to the 360 households and neighbors who signed the petition. It's not a small number, and thank you for speaking up and being here tonight. I hope that my vote reflects that of our neighbors.
Thank you, Kevin. Katrina, you had a question?
Hi, I think my question is very simple. I have two things. The current structure right now is just a house. It's just a residential one-floor house that they're proposing to construct a synagogue on.
It's a 1.5-story home that they're going to demolish and build a new synagogue, a new structure.
Okay. My other question was, has there been any discussion about like compromising in terms of the size? Because it seems like there's two people, like there's two sides to this. There's the members of the synagogue, and then there's the members of the community who are very concerned. And it just seems like a jump from one level being able to have a capacity of 30 go to 100. Maybe there's a compromise that a smaller building can be put in place to kind of meet the needs of both communities and the entire community.
Right. So during the course of the BSA hearings, we've actually reduced the scale of the proposal, and we've shifted the location of the building with the guidance of the Board of Standards and Appeals, and with after hearing the comments of the community, the Board of Standards and Appeals asked us to modify the building. We took off a third floor, which was meant to be the rabbi's apartment. We shifted the building to the center or towards the center of the property to provide buffer between the properties adjacent to our building. We've restricted the lights, restricted the windows. So we've done with keeping in mind trying not to impact our programmatic needs and the growth that we anticipate, we have modified the building to try and respond to the comments and some of the concerns. So we've done what we think we can and what we've been able to do without impacting the programmatic needs of the synagogue.
Thank you, Jay. Heidi.
Thank you. I just have one question. I'm actually following up on what Peter said. You're talking about people who are going to be walking to this, so that these are also members of the community. I'm just curious, what is the current membership of this synagogue, and are they made up of members of this community?
So currently, because of the space restriction, we only have 25 families, 55 people on a Saturday, because it's being held in the rabbi's house. On the high holidays and different holidays throughout the year, we have an increased demand of people who want the synagogue and want to pray with the rabbi. We have to go find other space. So we're trying to build a home for this community, the people in this community, the ones who can't fit in the rabbi's house have to walk in excess of, some cases more than a mile to go to their temple. So they're trying to find a home for themselves within this community, so they don't have to walk, and so that they can be, attend the congregation under the leadership of their rabbi.
So you're talking that if you're saying 55 families, what, over 100 people, 150 people? That's all. I was just trying to get a
right now we have
sense of the numbers of people.
Right. So right now we have about 25 families that are quote unquote members, paying members supporting the synagogue because of the space limitations. So that's in 90% of the cases, we have, 25 men, 25 women, and about 81 children at last count. Those children ranging in ages from, kindergarten or preschool to bar mitzvah and, older.
Thank you, Jay. Alexa.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I read all the comments before this board meeting, and I heard the comments without ever seeing the actual plans. When you showed the plans, it really doesn't seem that different from the surrounding area. So can you address that? Because it seems like a concern of the neighbors. I was just actually looking on Google Street View and looking around. There's quite a number of two-story buildings. So do you have like a facade rendering of what it will look like? And can you just speak to that, please?
So I can share again and show you the illustration of the facade.
Thank you, Jay.
So this is what the facade will look like. And to your point, there are a number of two-story homes surrounding us. The majority of
We're not seeing the rendering. We just have a blank white.
Oh, don't know why. Let's try that again. I was doing pretty well tonight with WebEx. It's okay. How about now?
Yeah, that works. That's good.
So, we did do a study, and the reason that we reduced it by a floor from 3 stories to 2 stories is because majority of the homes are 2-story houses. The proposed height of the building is 25 feet, where the district allows 35 feet, and then you have to set back with sky exposure. So we are significantly reducing the height. We're not having a super tall building that's going to be, seen from miles away. As a matter of fact, during the last BSA hearing, we had more of a pitched, almost like a 7-foot decorative parapet at the front of the facade of the building, and BSA asked us to remove that, and we've removed it so that it's now a little bit more 4-foot parapet at the front of the building, so that the mass of the building is much shorter. So you're looking at a 25-foot tall building, 2 stories, which is, we believe, in line with the neighborhood. The side yard requirements is 8 feet rather on each side. We're providing 6 feet and 3 feet. But next to us, the house next to us has 2 feet. So we're putting 6 feet next to that so that we maintain 8 feet between buildings, which is, legal light and air and what is required for any other residential development in this area. And on the other side, 8 feet, we're adjacent to rear yards rather. So if you look at this photograph, at this map, you'll see that the 2-foot section, which is proposed to be over here, is adjacent to the rear yards of these homes. So you're not butting building against building. There is buffer between the buildings. And it was done, we moved the building further away to give that a little extra buffer. So I do believe that we've worked on this building and it's changed dramatically since its original iteration to, meet the character of the neighborhood in terms of size.
Thank you. And just, can you say again how far the setback will be from the road or from the sidewalk, I guess?
So it's 10 feet from the front of our lot line, which right now that's what the house is. The house is 9.5 feet, so we're maintaining it. We're asking for 5-foot relief so that we don't have to go 15 feet back.
Okay. So I do appreciate those changes that you made. I think, we've talked a lot in this board about flooding, and this area does flood a lot. The more people pave land, the more will get flooded. So those changes are really important.
Right. We've also, as part of the committee meeting, we discussed at length that we're going to endeavor to have, and with the review of DOB, they'll ensure it, but water retention on site so that when it does rain, it'll be retained on site and sewage will be retained, however that works. And I'm not an expert, but that'll be on site. And we are proposing more landscaping around the building and in the rear so that we, towards the rear, so that we can try and alleviate that in response to the committee members' comments.
Thank you. That's mine.
And if I could just jump in real quickly, something that Keith and I discussed that also came up in the BSA hearing is, we've heard a lot of discussions as far as the synagogue having to demonstrate some need, some institutional need, beyond as far as why do they need to be here. And one of the cases they talked about, the BSA talked about, is called Cornell versus Bagnardi, where synagogues actually don't have, synagogues, religious institutions, educational institutions do not have to demonstrate that over the needs of the community. So I just wanted to explain that so that we could understand that within the guidelines, as far as the questions we're asking about the size and so on and so forth, yes. But when we're going to questions about asking them to defend their needs to be. Those questions actually go well beyond what we actually should really be focusing on tonight, just based on the law. And this actually, I actually learned this during the BSA hearing. I didn't realize this. So just want to point that out. So if some of your questions are to that point, understand that the synagogue is under no obligation, in a sense, if I'm understanding correctly. And Keith, if I'm dead wrong, correct me. But I just wanted to share that with you all tonight, because I know that we're at 9 o'clock and we do want to answer and satisfy all of your concerns. So if we could keep these questions concise so that we could then move on to a vote, because we have several other matters in front of us this evening. Keith, I'm sorry. Back.
In that case, Heather.
That's okay, Heather. I appreciate that.
Okay, if you're going to move to a vote, I just have a quick question. My name is Latrice Davis.
We're not moving to a vote right now.
Yeah.
Okay, no, but I do have a question.
Two seconds.
No, but I do have a question.
Please, you got to raise your hand using the raise hand button at the bottom.
I don't know.
You're not coming up.
But I have been raising my hand. So I just wanted to know, the people who are objecting to the synagogue being built there, what do they want? If they don't want a synagogue there, what do they want?
If I may, I imagine from hearing everything in the public comments that they want something perhaps smaller as a right. I think that's how it's being framed, although I shouldn't really be speaking for them per se.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay, Howie, we have a list of folks that are in the queue for questions, so I'll add you to the queue. I do just want to jump in really quick with a question for Jay, just because we heard a lot of numbers bandied around tonight, and I'd like us to just get some quantification on the maximum occupancy of this building. I do want us to quantify for the public and for the community board members. So to clarify, the maximum legal occupancy is what? And what will that number be that's recorded on file with the DOB on the Schedule A? Is that 300
So
and
it's
some odd people?
11, 13, 50, 60, 363. However, 363 if you're just going based on DOB's, occupancy counts.
Exactly,
However,
and that's why I want us to clarify that, because basically DOB does not allow an applicant to do what's called stated occupancy. So a maximum occupancy is purely that. It's a building code prescribed maximum number based upon a square footage ratio of occupants per the building use. So that being said, Jay, can you just tell us what the actual occupancy you perceive it to be? I think your material said 250 persons. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, so 250 would be based on the first floor and the second floor, the men's section and the women's section. And as mentioned before, the extra 105 or so seats come in at the occupancy of the cellar, but the cellar is not proposed to be used for 105 people. It's proposed to be used for youth groups. Essentially, programs for the young children during services who can't sit with their parents. They'll have different age groups, have different programming, from prayer services for young kids to junior congregation, where they teach the young kids to lead the congregation. So you'll have a much smaller occupancy at the cellar.
Right. Okay. So what I like just to quantify is the delta between the as of right. I believe the as of right is 102 versus what's being proposed. So can you give us that amount just so we can better understand what we're talking about?
Exactly right. The cellar has, as proposed, as 105 seats. If we do an as of right building, we would lose 69, and that would leave us with 36 occupancy of 36 at the cellar. The main sanctuary at the first floor for the men, 142 proposed. You would lose 106 seats, leaving you with 36 seats at the men's section, or at the first floor. And then at the second floor, which is the women's section, it'll go from 116 seats, you'd lose 86, and you'd result with 30. And that number between all three floors would get you at about 101, which barely satisfies the needs of the current congregation in the rabbi's house.
So then are we talking about, what, 148 people as the delta, or 200 people as the delta?
I mean, you're losing the 148 seats in the in the men and women's section, first and second floor. You'd be losing 192 seats, or 192 people that could be accommodated, and at the cellar you would lose 69. So you're losing, roughly 267 or yeah, you're losing a majority of your building because you wouldn't have that ability to have to waive the yards. You wouldn't be able to build there. So everything would be condensed, including staircases, elevators, bathrooms, and the like.
Got it. Okay.
I have a
Okay.
question. One
Yes.
question.
Howard, yes.
I just clicked that 85-94 66 Road. You're saying Regal Park, correct?
Yes.
But one thing, 56 Road ends on 99th Street and Queens Boulevard. There's no 85-94, because I know that for a fact.
No, it's on the other side of the train lines. It's over by Woodhaven. It's
Oh, well, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Please forgive me. Okay, thank you, Peter. Thank you very much.
Okay, Howard. Gladys, your hand has been up for a bit.
Yes, thank you. I have a question. I used to live there in that area 5 blocks away from where the proposed synagogue is. So I'm very familiar with the area. My family still lives there. On the corner, about 6 to 7 blocks away, they're building a huge commercial and residential space that's going to hold 133 new residences and also commercial space. And they only have 60 parking spots that they're going to provide within that area. Also on 68 in Alderton, there is a new building that just recently went up and it's an 8-family home. So if the concern is with parking spaces, because that's what I hear the most is the parking spaces, can they just do, I've seen that in other areas when they build huge complexes that only residents can park in the area. So if that's the biggest concern that the residents of the area have is losing their parking space, or not the only concern, but one, it seems to be a main concern. Can they be given permits so only residents of the area can park there? That's my question.
I don't think that's a question I can answer. That's a community board thing. I believe that's actually what's done in Forest Hills Gardens near the stadium. If you want to park there, you have to have a pass, a guest pass, or a resident pass. But in terms of doing that, it's beyond the scope of my application and my abilities because it's not something I can request or institute. It's definitely something the community board can explore.
Thank you.
I can't really answer that question either.
we
So
don't have power.
yeah, we are kind of pushing ahead with time. We're probably good to get to a vote eventually, but there are a number of people I will mention will probably be, let's hear from John, David, Elizabeth, and Brentley, and then we can probably move to a vote. Since we're
Hi, thank you. I just have a
packed agenda.
clarifying question on this matter, and it concerns the scale. Is it not true that the building that's being proposed is within the allowable floor area ratio in that area, and that in fact a significantly built a larger building could be built as of right, and that the only issue that a variance is needed is that you're taking more side and backyard space. And that if, say, a house was built that basically did not intrude upon the yard space and was built up to the floor area ratio, it would be much larger than this. And that basically the proposal you're making really is well within the basic scale of the area. I think this is an important clarifying point, and if the applicant can basically just confirm that, or if I got something wrong, tell me where I'm wrong.
No, I appreciate the comment. You're absolutely correct. We're not asking for a floor area or FAR waiver. The allowable FAR in this district is 2.0. So we have we can build 7,800 square feet, and we're proposing 5,000. So we'd be able to build an additional 2,800 square feet of community facility if we complied with yards and just went up instead of to the sides. However, the programmatic needs is what's driving this, and with an Orthodox synagogue or with synagogues in general, or I imagine any worship space, you don't want to have multiple small rooms stacked one on top of the other. You're going for the communal effect for the synagogue space where you can pray in a quorum with your congregation. So that's why we're asking for. We're not asking for a floor area waiver. We're not asking for a height waiver. We're just asking for minimal, in my opinion, waivers on the yards so that we can accommodate a larger sanctuary space.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Elizabeth?
I didn't have any question.
Oh,
My
sorry.
hand's not, I forgot to take it down. I'm sorry. I
That's okay. That's
apologize.
okay.
I'll
No
lower it
worries.
now. Thank you.
No worries. No worries. Not a problem. David?
So, I'm just wondering if there could be valet parking at special events. Residents have said that it's going to be from early morning to evening, when that's not the case. It's minimal in the morning, minimal in the evening. If there's a special event like a speaker, would the synagogue be able to provide valet parking? My second point, go on Google Maps, see what's in the area. I see 11 Tree School, which must be a daycare center, a rehab a block away, a bar about 3 or 4 blocks away, and that takes up a lot of parking spaces, a bar, a Feng Shui master, a catering food and drink supplier. So look in the surrounding area, and this is not a bar coming into your neighborhood. This is basically going to be quiet most of the time. That's what I would suggest, to take a look at Google Maps.
So if I could just answer with regard to the valet, so it's not proposed to have any large functions in terms of catered events or anything of that nature. And I can definitely, if the board wants to put as a condition that if there are speakers or something of that nature that anticipate a large crowd beyond the normal lectures, that they have valet parking. That's a reasonable request.
Thank you, Jay. Brentley?
Good evening. Thank you for the presentation. It was wonderful. It helped me to understand a little bit better about this. So if this has been talked about already, Keith, just interrupt me. I just wanted to clarify a quick question I had. So I've heard a lot of this about the noise worries once this has been built and people are starting to come. But when it's being built, the process of being built, has that been talked about in the sense of like that's a residential area? Are they going to be making sure that are there going to be a lot of spaces being taken up for construction vehicles, machinery, construction supplies? Are they going to abide by obviously the noise ordinances of that neighborhood? I'm just want to confirm that's been talked about, or has that been looked into as well?
So Keith, you can discuss if you'd like, but just from my standpoint, we discussed it briefly at the committee meeting, where one of the conditions of the committee was that we have a point man accessible to the community during construction, so that if there are concerns, we can you have a point person to address them. With regards to parking spaces or construction, it would be no more of an impact than have you had an as of right synagogue or an as of right house being built. Construction happens in New York City. There are guidelines that detail how construction takes place. It's not anticipated unless there's an emergency situation to do weekend variances. And I can tell you from my standpoint as an Orthodox Jew, you'd be hard pressed unless there's a life safety issue to find a synagogue that's going to allow any of their contractors to work on their Sabbath on their behalf. So I don't anticipate, construction beyond what's normal during the course of any development that can happen at this location or anywhere else in the neighborhood.
Awesome. And Keith, I think this is more maybe something that you can answer, but I saw that the committee approved based off of certain requirements.
Conditions.
Sorry.
Yes, absolutely. That's okay.
Will you be following up to make sure those requirements are being met? Because I've had an experience where we had certain requirements and they weren't met, but it was still pushed through to be finished and completed. So who will be following up to make sure all those demands were met?
That is a good question. I might have to defer to perhaps Frank for that, how that passes forward.
Traditionally, we have followed up. If that answers your question.
Okay, perfect. That's all I need. Those are my 2 questions. I'm done. Thank you.
Great, thank you, and thank you everyone. So we've had a pretty full conversation on this matter. I think are we clear for Heather?
Well, I believe so. And just to reiterate, 'cause I believe there was a question about because when we voted, when we, not we, I was not on the land use committee, but when the land use committee voted yes, there were a few items that we had asked the synagogue to complete. And if I remember correctly, if we could just be reminded of what they satisfied in that list, because I believe it was mentioned, and I just want to, because someone had asked before about that.
Let me pull up my screen really quick, and I can share again for everyone the conditions.
Make sure that we're all clear.
The conditions that accompanied the land use committee's vote to approve the application, which was again to provide for additional sound attenuation, to provide for light pollution attenuation, and these are all things that we heard, during the meeting that were concerns. Provide for utility reduction and energy efficiency considerations. Provide for enhanced stormwater reduction strategies. Maximize vegetation alongside the public right of way, and to provide for community outreach and point of contact for supervision of construction operations. So for this full board vote, we'll be basically voting on if we choose to approve this application with the conditions that the land use committee has outlined.
Yes. And one thing that's important for people to know is that our recommendation is merely that it is simply a recommendation to the BSA, to the Board of Standards and Appeals, and they will decide whether these conditions are part of their approval. That is how we believe the process will work. This is a little different than a ULURP process that we are all so used to engaging in. So just wanted to explain that, and to be transparent of the process. And Jay, I think you would, that's how you understand it as well, correct?
100%.
Okay. All right. So I think we want to get moving with a vote now. So I'm just going to be calling your name, and it'll be a yes or no vote. First is Michael Arcadi.
No.
Anicia Ione.
Yes.
Kavish.
No.
Peter.
Yes.
Miriam, I'm going to find you on the screen, and if you, let me see here. Miriam, I see you. If you could give me a thumbs up for yes, a thumbs down for no. Where'd you go?
No.
Miriam,
Heather, do you want me to text her real quick and you move on and then we'll scoop
please,
back?
if you could kindly do that, I would.
I'll do that. Yeah, I can text her right now.
Next, Howard.
Yeah.
Heidi Chang.
Yes.
Sheridan.
No.
LT.
Yes.
Sandra's not here. Alex Cohn.
Yes.
Latrice.
Yes. Yes.
John.
Yes.
Alejandro Diaz Houston.
Yes.
Keith. Karen. Okay. Serena, are you here yet? No? Mark Laster?
Yes.
Beatrice? Beatrice?
Yeah.
No. Okay. That's a yes? Okay. Jonathan?
Yes.
Kevin?
No.
Jack Medina, have you joined us? Okay. Dr. Renee? Dr. Renee? You're muted? Okay. Stephen Metz?
Yes.
Julie Milner?
No.
Pat Morgan?
No.
Elizabeth Newton?
I'm abstaining.
As communicated in the email, unless you have a conflict of interest, you either vote yes or no unless there's a conflict. I'm sorry, Elizabeth.
Let me come back to me. Come back to me. Miriam votes no, by the way.
Okay, Miriam was no. Okay. Tanya Paget,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Diana,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Gladys,
No.
Katrina,
No.
David,
Yes.
Herb,
Yes.
Jean, Jean Silva, Jean, you're muted.
No.
No, okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
sorry.
Teresa,
Oh, and then, and the housekeeper.
Teresa,
Yes, Teresa.
okay. Dr. Tomyayev,
I have to abstain. I have numerous conflicts of interest, including the fact that my own family owns the synagogue.
oh, okay. Okay. And Irina, have you joined us? No. Okay. Martha Tucker,
No.
Susan Wanderman,
Yes.
Alexa Weitzman,
Yes.
Joan is out. Brentley,
Yes.
Edwin Wong,
No.
No.
PT,
Yes.
and I am yes. Elizabeth, sorry to put you on the spot.
Yes.
Okay. Christine, do we have a count?
49, 14.
1 second, Heather.
Well, I have 12 no's.
12.
I might be wrong.
I have 28 yes, 12 no, 1 abstention. So the motion passed.
Okay.
Can
All
I
right.
just, if I can, for 1 minute, just take 1 second of your time? I just wanted to thank the subcommittee and the committee as a whole and the community board as a whole for a very, it was a charged meeting with the opposition with the comments, but the board took a really, thorough look at it, and I really do appreciate that. It's not that common for many of the community boards, so I just want to applaud you and thank you very much for your service and for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. And I want to thank the committee for the work they did on this summer and for the work that this board did tonight. And Elizabeth, I actually owe you an apology. It was not in an email I wrote. It was actually in my notes for tonight. I'm sorry, when you get to be writing so many emails and so many notes for meetings, you tend to think that they were in emails. And so I owe you an apology. I didn't give that guidance in email. I should have given that guidance tonight for voting. So sorry.
No worries, no worries, Heather. No worries.
Okay. I just looked down at my notes and there it was. Okay, so thank you so much. Keith, thank you so much for your leadership on this issue and the thousands that are coming our way.
Thank you, everybody.
Next, we're going to do a quick report for the Veterans Public Service Committee from Michael Arcadi. Michael, thank you.
Heather, excuse me, I don't think you took attendance.
We did take attendance.
She took attendance, Herb.
And you were marked present, Herb.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Thank you.
That's the most important thing, right?
Yes. Yes. Michael Arcadi?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll keep this within 30 seconds, since we're 90 minutes into the meeting. The only announcement I have is we are going to sponsor a Veterans Day breakfast on Veterans Day, November 11th at 8 a.m. at the Westside Tennis Club. The American Legion in Forest Hills will fund up to $500 for all veterans and community to attend. And the second announcement is September is National Preparedness Month. Members of the community are invited to stop by Forest Hills Regal Park Community Emergency Response Team CERT table at the Austin Street Fair this coming Sunday on the 18th. Thank you, Madam Chair.
No, thank you for that very concise report this evening, and thank you for that breakfast. Next up is the Consumer Affairs and Economic Development and Small Business Report from Elizabeth Newton. Elizabeth?
Okay, thank you, Heather. Good evening. This report it'll be very brief. We did not get a lot of new liquor license applications. So Heather, if it's okay with you, I'd like to go through the renewals first and then the new applications. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, knock yourself out.
Okay, did you want to do the slides or you just want me to read through?
I'll just put it quickly up. I'll do it right now.
Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you.
You're very welcome. You can go ahead and start while I
Okay,
figure this sharing.
so we've got 11 renewal liquor license applications. We have Human Sushi Zang, located at 9605 Metropolitan Avenue. Shalisi Neri, I'm probably really screwing up the name there. 9630 Queens Boulevard in Rego Park. Thank you, Heather. And you can see here Desert Rain, Aged, Cipollina, Barossa, Mito Asian, Narita, Yellowstone Sushi, El Coyote, and Low Key. As to El Coyote, I just want to point out, a lot of you may remember that they came before us just before we closed for the summer, and that was a corporate change or change in ownership. They now have to actually renew their liquor license that is expiring. And the last one was Low Key. We had a quorum, the committee quorum for the new applications. Everyone voted yes. For the renewals, everyone voted yes, except for one member voted yes to all and no to Low Key and Desert Rain. As for the new liquor license application, we have Shake Shack. So it's really not a renewal of the liquor license application. It is a corporate change. And so I wanted to find out a little bit more as to what specifically was the corporate change. I went to the location Sunday afternoon. I spoke to a couple of managers. They really didn't know what it was. So I did a little bit of research, and to my surprise, Shake Shack is not offering franchises or has ever had franchises. This is a strictly stockholder corporation. It's run, all their locations are run like a corporation under one umbrella. So I am deducing that whatever the corporate changes, it's at the very top of the corporation. It could be a chief executive officer or the president, who also is the founder. But that was the only information that we can get. The managers did tell me that staffing will stay the same, the menu will stay the same. So that is the corporate change for Shake Shack. The other new application is from Iron Age. Iron Age at 6135 Junction Boulevard in Rego Park. I also went over to see if I could talk to someone. Unfortunately, Iron Age is not open yet, but we're all familiar with the location that Iron Age will be opening at, 6135 Junction Boulevard. I call it the Rego Park Mall area, but it's the strip of Junction Boulevard where you will see the Red Mango, the Dallas Barbecue, Costco's, Aldo's, the Mandel.
Heather, you're sharing your screen.
Heather, we're seeing your screen.
Sorry.
Yep.
Sorry about
Sorry,
that.
Heather. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Sorry. Trying to double time here.
Okay. I'm just going to continue. So the Iron Age is located on that strip of Junction Boulevard, and all the stores along that strip have that address of 6135 Junction Boulevard because of the location. However, there are two storefronts, vacant storefronts. The first vacant storefront is at the corner of that Junction Boulevard. And you may remember that there was Miller's Ale House there. That was a restaurant. They were known for their variety of beer. They are no longer there. They closed. I'm guessing that I&H will probably go in that location. It's larger and it's created for a restaurant type of atmosphere. And just want to also point out that the Korean barbecue, that's what I&H is known for and will be selling primarily, is supposedly the first Korean barbecue restaurant in the New York and New Jersey area. They are in other areas of the United States, but New York and New Jersey does not have an I&H that sells Korean barbecue. So the owners are very excited about opening this up because it's the first one in the New York and New Jersey area. And that is pretty much my report. I just want to say that for the new applications, everybody voted yes, we had a quorum. And I just like to close with I thought some very interesting information. It's not going to take up a lot of time, Heather, maybe another minute or so. But there was a very interesting article in the New York Times dated September 5th of this year. And it talked about the fall season and what to expect and dining, going out and dining. So the article is, if you want to look at it, expect the unexpected. And it talks about, again, what restaurants and bars will be doing coming the fall season. One of the major changes is the QR codes. A lot of us may be familiar with the QR codes, but this is the new wave. No more, the paper menus are slowly going away. A lot of the restaurants are using QR codes. They're little squares that are black and white in the middle. You hold up your camera on your smartphone, you focus it on that square, and bang, you have the menu for that restaurant. So this is the new wave. This is going to be the new culture. So if you don't see too many paper menus in restaurants and bars, bring your smartphone. You're going to need it. Secondly, outdoor dining is still here. It's across the country. It's common to see dining tables on sidewalks and parking lots and streets. A lot of owners are investing heavily in making their outdoor spaces look as nice as their dining rooms. They're bringing in plants and colorful awnings and artificial grass. The flip side is that some cities have stopped short of allowing outdoor dining year-round. They'll have outdoor dining, but it will not be year-round. Many of the restaurants are pushing for it because of the extra seats it creates in sales. Critics are saying that outdoor tables can disrupt public spaces, interfere with pedestrians and street traffic, but it looks like this is something that is going to stay will be very common and stay within the dining out area. And then the article talked about inflation. The restaurant checks are getting more expensive and may continue to do so. So don't be surprised if you order French fries and it's $15. Costs are rising. And the article discussed that the increase in outdoor dining or dining in period increased by 10.9% this July compared to last year. The prices for flour are up because of the grain shortages caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Wine will be more expensive because of the inconsistent grape harvest resulting from climate change.
I stopped sharing my screen for now. I think everyone knows. And again, my apologies for interrupting, but sometimes you guys, when you're I'm now learning a lot of what Alexa dealt with. You get a lot of emails and a lot of text messages, this thing, that thing. So I'm always checking back and forth. So my apologies for interrupting you, Elizabeth.
No worries. And I'm almost done. I just want to talk a little bit that I think this is really important. It's volatility. The open hours posted on websites are not always reliable. Many places still are unable to find workers. Some owners are opening their restaurants only a few days a week or being forced to close unexpectedly. The recommendation from the author of this article is recommending that the restaurants that do not accept reservations, call ahead or send a message on Instagram to find out or to confirm that they are open. Lastly, because of the supply chain issues have limited the availability of some ingredients, menus may be shorter or your favorite dish may no longer be available. Staffing shortages may mean that there will be a longer wait time for your food. The bottom line is dining out is going to be more expensive and less predictable than it once was. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're ready to take a vote now. It will be a yes, yes, yes for renewal, for new and renewal. So it'll be yes, yes, or no, yes, as we've always done it. So again, I'm going to go through the roll call quickly. Michael Arcadi?
Yes, yes.
1 second, it's Christine. I just wanted to say something quick. That's
Yes.
okay. I just wanted to confirm what Elizabeth said about Shake Shack. Sorry, Elizabeth, that should have been sent to you, but it's just a change in their board of directors. So some people left the board, some new people came. So they have to fill out a corporate change with the SLA. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Alicia Ione?
Yes, yes.
Kavish?
Yes, yes.
Peter Beadle?
Yes, yes.
Miriam, if you could text Elizabeth, I'd appreciate it. Howard,
Yes,
is it yes to both?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Heidi?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Sheridan?
Yes and yes, but as to the exceptions is that Elizabeth Newton had mentioned, that would be me.
Do you have an extension to which one? I'm sorry.
I have an objection to Desert Rain and Loki.
Okay. That's a no to Desert Rain and a no to Loki.
Correct.
Okay. And LT?
Yes, yes.
Okay, Candace not here. Alex Cohn?
Yes, yes.
Latrice?
Double yes.
John?
Yes to everything.
Alejandra?
Yes, yes.
Okay, Keith?
2 yeses.
Okay. Karen, have you been able to join us? Okay. Serena? No. Mark Laster?
Yes, yes.
Beatrice?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Jonathan?
Yes, yes.
Kevin?
Yes, yes, but objection to Desert Rain and Loki, same as Sheridan.
So yes to everything, but no to Doug.
Yeah.
Okay. Jack Medina? Dr. Renee?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Steve Metz?
Yes, yes.
Julie?
Yes, yes.
Julie? I see you. Don't
Yeah,
hear you.
yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep, all good. Pat Morgan?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Elizabeth?
Yes, yes. And Miriam
Did you get
votes
Miriam
yes,
vote?
yes.
Okay, thank you. And Tanya?
Yes, yes.
Howard?
Yes, yes.
Diana?
Yes, yes.
Sherry? Sherry?
Yes to all?
Okay, thank you. Gladys?
Yes, yes.
Katrina?
Yes, yes.
David?
Yes, yes.
Herb?
Yes, yes.
Jean? Jean?
Jean doesn't show that she's connected by audio. her name is here, but there's no indication that she's actually connected.
Okay, well, for time, we're going to have to move on. Teresa?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Dr. Tamyayev?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Irina's not here. Martha Tucker?
I vote yes, yes.
Thank you. Susan?
Yes, yes.
Alexa?
Yes, yes.
Brentley?
Yes, yes, except for Desert Rain.
Okay. Edwin? Edwin?
Yes. Yes, yes.
Thank you. Gotcha. TT?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you all so very much for this. I appreciate it. We're going to move next.
Heather, I just need your vote because you skipped yourself.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
I always vote last and then I forget me. Okay.
Heather, before you go on, Heather, if I may, before you go on, I know we're late for time, but with regard to low-key, that was a personal situation that happened over there with the bouncer, had nothing to do with their liquor license. And as far as Desert Rain is concerned, there were only four issues in the past 2 years. So everybody knows there's nothing heavy going. I'm not defending them. I'm just giving you the facts from the precinct. Thank you.
Thank you. If aging, social, and disabilities could hold on for a minute, I'd like to get to the next thing before our eyes start to glaze over, because this is very important. With the Law and Bylaws Committee report tonight and our focus being on the resolution for extraordinary circumstances. I alluded to it at the top of the meeting. We are going to be going back in person, but we do have the capacity to be hybrid, and what this resolution will do is establish what those extraordinary circumstances are that would qualify somebody to be remote during hybrid and virtual during our in-person meeting. So I'm going to turn this over to John so he can explain it. And then John, when you're ready, I can put that slide up, and I won't switch it this time so that everyone can sort of see in summary how this resolution plays out. John, I'm going to give you the floor. John, I'm trying to give you the floor.
I have to unmute myself. Okay, I will.
Okay.
Okay, and Heather, I think you can put the thing on as you know now.
Okay,
If, you know,
got it.
yeah. As Heather explained it, basically we're going to be going and have to be going live beginning, well, frankly, with the October meeting. However, the legislature did open up a possibility for people to join online if they can show what's called extraordinary circumstances. And they have to be rather carefully defined. Basically what we were presented with was to present a resolution and procedures to the, that will indicate how we could conduct our business on a hybrid basis. Now, those were discussed by the committee. It also was discussed and reviewed by the borough president's legal staff. And the borough president's legal staff said that the procedures that we have are consistent and would fly, basically, which is important. Now, again, we really can't change the resolution itself because it basically quotes directly from the legislation or basically tracks the language. However, we do have the discretion in the procedures to deal with that. And so basically what we've done is basically create, the areas of extraordinary circumstances, how people can relate and apply and when they can, and some other significant items. First of all, we defined, and I think it's under, and again, it was something that was sent out under number 2, and it's presented here on the left side of the diagram. Extraordinary circumstances would include a disability, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. Ongoing or sudden illness, including the health-related issues related to family members or other residents of the household. Basically, if somebody else in the household is so ill and someone needs to deal with that person. Um, Caregiving responsibilities, but those that are related again to the care of one suffering from a physical, medical, or mental health infirmary. It's just not, we have to take care of other people in the household. This has to be related pretty seriously. And then if there was a death in the family that would cause someone, say, not to be there, but they could be able to reach us for that meeting online. Basically, in terms of how to request that status, someone would basically have to contact the chair or a designated representative, which would be the district office. We would want that person to do it, hopefully, we'd hopefully have that person do it 2 days prior to the meeting. However, understanding that extraordinary circumstances sometimes crop up immediately, that we would have it would be possible to basically make the request as late as 4 hours prior to the stated meeting time. And the reason for the 4 hours is basically because of that's the way in which someone who would want to register for the meeting would do. So it keeps the consistency there. And in fact, if somebody has an emergency situation that's close, they're probably in the middle of the emergency to be able to go to attend the meeting. Now, one of the reasons why, and this is a critical point, why we're actually being very precise in what constitutes an extraordinary circumstance is the legislation says that while people can join the meeting online and have the full privileges of membership to both participate and vote, they will not be counted toward the quorum of the meeting. Basically, we will have to have, under any circumstances, a majority of the members of the board, appointed members of the board, physically present at the meeting. And anybody else who joins is while they can participate and vote, are not going to be counted. So basically, we could have, say, 30 members attending, but if 6 people attend online and we have 50 members and 24 are the only ones who were there physically, then we really can't have a legal meeting. Now, frankly, I think this is a terrible idea. I don't know why the legislature did it. I think it's something where I would hope that, and I think we may want to, on a separate action, kind of make an appeal to the legislature to reconsider it. It's unfair to people. It really discriminates, like the people who, for disabilities or others, can't make it. But that's the law. And that's one of the reasons why we basically have to see that people who have an extraordinary circumstance really have to have it and has to show it. And that also people should be urged to attend the meeting and not to use the fact that we can that we can go online as a kind of an excuse, which could endanger our ability to have quorum. Hopefully, the legislation will change in the future on this, but that's what we have to live with. The procedures and the legislation also says it's important that that notification is given in terms of that we're having these meetings and who is joining. So basically, the chair will, as a first order of business, announce who is joining online so people would know. It's also noted that people who do raise the issue of an extraordinary circumstance and fit that definition, their requests are not going to be unreasonably denied. So if a plausible case is made, we're not going to say, and make a big case and give, in a sense, the benefit of the doubt. But again, the people who come to the join online, there'll be an announcement that they will be that they are joining, so everybody would know. The minutes would clearly indicate who is joining online and who is physically present. The notice of the meeting will also indicate that that this is a hybrid meeting, so that people would know that. And another matter too, so that this is both fair to non-members as well. Meetings that we're holding that are hybrid. People of the public who wish to join online would have the ability to do so, and they could join basically as they do as participants, as they do now, if they're not physically present, and if they want to offer testimony, they could also be joining, and if they make a timely request, could then be promoted to that position so that they could offer the testimony online. One other thing that everybody who's joining online has to make sure that they could be seen as well as heard. Um, and that's also something that the legislation says. So, don't turn off your screens. You basically have to, and unfortunately, if there's any kind of a technical glitch that prevents that from occurring, well, you can't join, unfortunately. Again, that's what the law says. Now, I just want to say also that this is something which is not necessarily written in stone. We're going ahead because this would allow us, if we approve this, to be able to have that option. If we don't approve this or act upon this, then basically we're going to have a meeting where everybody has to be physically present. There'll be no other alternatives. And so I would urge that we would support this basically for that reason. It's also not written in stone. It's something that if we find out that something doesn't work well, or we can do something better, we can always revise it and change it as well, as long as it's consistent with the legislation. So I think I've explained it hopefully as extensively as possible. And first of all, are there any questions that anybody has regarding that? I see, I think Alexa, can you ask? Alexa?
Thanks. Yeah, no, first, thanks. This takes a lot of bylaws wherewithal, and I think we're in good hands with you at the helm. But I just have some concerns about just the window, the 4-hour window, because it seems first of all, I want to be able to accommodate folks with ongoing issues that can't come. But with a 4-hour window, there's just a lot of pressure on the chair and the office to kind of have that turnaround. And if you have an emergency within 4 hours of your board meeting, take one of your absences. I don't know the necessity to make sure that happens, that someone has to be able to log in. And I think it creates they can watch, you can watch the meeting if you're somewhere that you need to watch the meeting. And if it's a very, contentious vote, I understand that could cause distress, and, we want to be able to accommodate everyone voting at the meetings. But I'm just concerned about kind of setting us up for just a lot of hubbub, for lack of a better word. And all that said, I will vote yes, because I appreciate that this work has been done and it's been out there, and it's a starting point, and I want to get us to a point that allows us to accommodate folks on our board and in our community that can't come in person, and have them log on. I just think that we have a number of absences which we can use, and if it's a real emergency, maybe we should use our absence.
Right. Well, I would think so. I would say, I mean, I think I discussed the 4 hours basically with Heather to try to see a consistency that can. I think one of the things we'd have to do here, or two things, is first of all, if you're going to have something that's in extraordinary circumstances, get that in as early as possible. A lot of these are, if somebody really is disabled, if somebody is in the hospital, for example, and can go in. I mean, as I said, I mean, as a rule, we would want someone to have it in 2 days before. And it's only if something that really, really is imminent, really, really is. I mean, we've had situations where someone really went into the hospital the morning, but was able to join the meeting. And I think that's something like that. And I think it tries to do that, and it tries to be as accommodating as possible, as long as it meets the definition. So, okay, I think I see, I think Herb, do you have a question? Herb and Heidi have questions.
Yeah, when we used to have live meetings only, I guess this is additional help for people to go in from home. That's one thing. The second thing is the setup in the live meeting has to have a big screen so people could see the people who are remote if they're talking and want to respond, rather than a laptop or something like that, I was thinking.
I think we try to technically accommodate as much as possible. I don't know
So if I could jump in, John, and Herb, you hit it right on the head. We are getting no guidance. We have no money in our funding or any community board to really get involved with big screen TVs, bring in TV technicians. When I spoke about logistics earlier in the evening, that's exactly what I was talking about. I have no idea, but I appreciate what John has done. It is a beginning. It's a moving part, and we could go up and down with this. But listen, you've been at our live meetings in person. You know what they're like. So to do all this stuff perfectly, I don't know how and I had the whole discussion with Heather on this. I don't know how we could do this at our meetings. So I'm waiting for directives. I'm also waiting for money to see if we could get the big screen, if you will. And then who's going to carry it there? Who would bring it back? I mean, I have new staff members. So, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. We want to do the right thing, but we have to just go with John. It's a beginning, and I like it because we need something like this to help people who just can't. And
No, thank you. Yeah, and I would hope it would accommodate. And again, maybe it wouldn't be the perfect way of seeing it, but as long as you could show that someone is there and be seen.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, it's not. Heidi, I think you have a question.
Yes, first of all, this is great, and thank you for doing it. But I do have a question. If you end up, if there's a storm, if there's something like that, and you have the vast majority of the board who wants to come in on this, what are you going to do regarding having a quorum, and how are you going to segregate, and at what point, draw a line of people who are doing it? Because that's the only thing I see here that could become problematic is, we're going to be January, February, you could have all of a sudden something come up weather related and lots of people could not want to go.
No,
And now there's this option, whereas before you might have wanted to cancel the meeting. But my then question is, how do you get a quorum?
Well, I mean, I'll be very honest, and that's one of the reasons why I have a problem with that quorum rule. I mean, it would be nice if we didn't have that and if people could go and we could therefore have it. I think, when we've really had situations, excuse me, of extreme weather, the meetings were canceled. I know there was the day of that mini tornado. I remember
They were canceled, but that's why I'm raising the question.
Unfortunately, I guess in a situation like that, we'd probably have to cancel the meeting, even though there would be that option, because the window of what is a extraordinary circumstance really would be not met in that kind. And it clearly, if you look at the legislation or not, there's nothing that really is stated there that really would indicate. But I think that's what we're kind of stuck with.
John,
if I could jump in real quick and say one thing.
Yeah.
If it did get, first of all, there is no, in the extraordinary circumstances, there is no sort of weather related circumstance, number one. Number two, and this is something, again, like Frank has said, we're still figuring a lot of this out. So what I find interesting that we may be able to pursue is if we were in a very inclement weather situation, the Department of Education has told schools that when it's a snow day, the kids still have to report to some type of virtual online school situation, whether it be Google Classroom, Zoom, or whatever. So we could even argue that in inclement weather, could community boards move their meetings online, which would then allow us to continue our work as opposed to stop our work for another 30 days?
So if I may jump in here, Ed is absolutely right, John's right, but the bottom line cardinal rule, as it was explained to me this week, is there has to be, John said this, there has to be a quorum for the hybrid and the EC to kick in. There has to be a quorum in person first. When we reschedule, if there was a snowstorm or whatever storm in the past that we couldn't get there, past chairs have said, okay, we'll move the meeting to next week. We're not losing 30 days again because there were votes there, and so on and so forth that had to get done. So we have that flexibility. And again, that's one of the things that I'll sit down with Heather and we'll go through. A lot of moving parts, folks, a lot of moving parts.
Yes, but if I could also say, I mean, I think just like we may want to, in a resolution that we may want to, in the future, deal with, urge the legislature to rethink the quorum issue, we might also want to also urge that on situations like extreme snow dates, things like that, that there may have to be change. But again, that would go outside what the legislature currently permits, and I would hope that we could see an accommodation. This is something that's a force in motion. I think the legislation doesn't really understand in many ways that the option of having these hybrid meetings is really the wave of the future. They're kind of a little bit against the way history is going there. But again, we're dealing with an imperfect system and we're trying to make the best of it. So are there any other questions? I mean,
We have two more questions, John. We have Katrina and then Titi.
Can I just say, is there a way that we could, at the same time as voting on this, make a recommendation regarding inclement weather and things like that?
Yeah, well, we could do two things. We could make a what I would recommend also is that we would say that we would urge the legislature to rethink the question regarding quorum for the nod for people who attend online and also to urge the legislation to think of the option for snow days and things like that and extreme inclement weather. So yeah, I would accept that as a friendly amendment.
So John, before you do an amendment, just let me tell you, I was advised with my other colleagues this week, the other day actually, that this will go before the legislation for review, hopefully by the end of the year, so that they could clarify exactly what you all just said. So I don't know if you need to waste your time with another resolution that's not worth the paper that's written on, unless it's a real solid vote.
No, what I'm going to say is
that's my
I would
opinion.
look at, no, I mean, I would look at the items that it mentioned, not as really certainly not as part of the procedures. The procedures are the thing that's going to have to be, guiding. But we may want to, just as an addition, simply say, in addition to that, we would hope that these are two issues that are looked at. It would be separate, totally separate from the procedures. Because if they were tied into it, then there might be a possibility that the legislature, that the powers that be could say, well, it's no good. I mean, we know that everything that's in the procedures now basically is kosher in terms of meeting that. Oh, yeah. And, that's a term of art, I'm told. But
yeah, right. You're right, John. You're right.
Yeah. But I mean, if it's the understanding that in addition to the procedures and separate from it, comments regarding rethinking the quorum and also consideration of things like extreme weather be looked at, I think that I think we can live with that, and I think we could couple that together.
Thank you. That would be my recommendation.
Are there any other questions? Oh, I
Okay,
think
we also
her?
have
Oh,
Katrina.
no.
Hi.
Katrina, I didn't see it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything, John. I wanted to first agree with what Heidi said, and then just to build on this, they're bringing this back to in person as we're going into fall and winter. And we haven't had great falls and winters in terms of health the last couple of years. So I think it would be beneficial if there were contingency plans in terms of the need to move back to to an online meeting. With that being said, I do have experience with hybrid meetings, and usually the biggest issue is sound and people hearing all the questions. So we could talk, Frank or Heidi, if you want to talk more online. I unfortunately have a lot of experience with hybrid meetings, and I've dealt with sound issues for quite a bit, so I might be able to help troubleshoot. That's all I had to say.
I think we need all the troubleshooting we can. I mean, we're in an imperfect world with imperfect knowledge, and anybody who can add to it is great. Okay, is there anything else?
TT has a question, and then Pat
Okay,
Morgan.
okay, Cece.
Hi, it's TT.
Hi, TT.
Not
I got
not a
the
no
wrong
problem.
letter.
No problem. Not a question, just a comment, and similar to Katrina, I work for 100% hybrid company, or sorry, I should say 100% remote company. They've been remote before the pandemic, and so they're quite well versed at doing remote meetings. There is a tool, going to Frank's point of, yeah, you can't carry a huge TV and camera equipment, but there's something called a meeting owl, and it allows, it has 365 degrees of video and audio, and it works quite well. So I'll send that information to the office and Heather.
Okay, well, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. I think that's really
And
a
last,
good, as I say, we need suggestions. And Pat? Hello, Pat?
I just
Pat
want to
Morgan.
I just want to say the following. Most of the people on this board know that I am disabled. For the new individuals, I am disabled, and having the opportunity to work remotely would be advantageous to somebody such as myself. Also, there are a number of individuals on the board who are seniors, and dependent upon where our meetings are going to be. For example, we're getting on to its 10:30 for this meeting. And depending upon where the meeting is going to be, we're talking about cab fare, transportation, and fear of actually being out there in areas. For example, I used to be very afraid coming home from the meetings late from the Darth Vader building because I was out there alone, sometimes waiting a half hour for a bus. And it's scary. And luckily I was able to get a ride many times. But we have to take into consideration, and please, if you can, vote for the hybrid meetings, because somebody such as myself can have a bad day and I may not be able to make it to a meeting. It can be a godsend. And also, if anybody's wondering who the person was who was in the hospital, it was me. When I was in the hospital 3 times in the last 2 years, I've attended meetings and committee meetings from a hospital bed. Thank you.
Yes, and I think that's exactly why hybrid meetings are important. So, and I think that you're a role model for that, and I think that's great. So are there any?
Yeah, I don't know if somebody was ahead of me. I just wanted to go back because when Pat started talking about late at night, it reminded me that Miriam had a question that goes back and we didn't get to it. For some reason, we didn't see her hand. So I don't want to jump the line. Is anybody before me? Because I'd like to ask Miriam's question, if that's
Go
okay.
ahead, Nat. Go ahead, and ask
Okay,
Miriam.
so
You could ask that, and I also see Miss Ciaccio will also be after. But okay, Elizabeth, yes.
So Miriam, when we talked about location and now we're talking about in-person meetings, Miriam was wondering, in searching for a venue for in-person meetings, and I'm reading this verbatim, by the way, the two criteria I'm concerned with is parking availability being considered, and there are still people who do not feel comfortable among a large contingent of individuals, especially when there is usually in excess of 50 people sitting close to each other. Additionally, days are getting shorter, and if meetings end sometime close to 10 p.m., It's not so great being on the street at that hour, given the climate and circumstances we're living at this time. Miriam Burfess. Thank you.
And if I could say just two things, this meeting tonight is exceptional, and honestly, no matter where we're at, we're going to have a limit as to how long we're able to be in the space. They're not going to say, turn off the lights, shut the door, send us the key tomorrow. They're going to give us a certain period of time that we're allowed in there, and it typically is no more than 2.5 hours. My goal outside of this extraordinary meeting tonight was to have 2-hour meetings, because it takes us about that amount of time to get through our standard agendas without all this extra, right? So that being said, as far as finding a place, we're continuing to look. We don't want to have a lot of people. We share Miriam's concerns. We don't want to be in a space where we have a lot of people on top of one another. We want space so that everyone can space out, that people feel comfortable returning back, that we don't have to be sitting with one another so tight, that we also have room for the public to also feel as equally comfortable and spaced out as well, and that in itself has made finding a space within our community that much more hard, because we're trying to meet all these requirements and also have internet and. So, and just so you all understand, Frank has been on the hunt for a space for months. We find a space and an executive order changes. He finds a space and executive order changes. So spaces move around. So just understand that we're going to do our very best to make sure that we're doing the absolute level best to help you be safe, help you feel comfortable, because that's the goal. We don't want to make this hard. We have.
I think I see Miss
more.
Siaccio. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Gotcha, yeah.
Okay.
Pat brings up a good point in regards to disabilities. They are not always predictable. So if we disclose and identify as disabled, is this a binary thing where we're committing ourselves to being remote, or is it something where we can try to show up? Or is that something where we're always going to be subject to the 4-hour rule? Because my disability does not always give me 4 hours notice, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, I think we're trying to make it as quick as liberal as possible, so unless, I mean, and usually, I mean, to be perfectly honest, the model procedures that we basically radically revised would have been far more restrictive, would have required like 3 or 4 days notice, would have made it almost impossible for anybody who has something more emergent to come up. And I thought it was written by somebody who wanted this to fail, frankly. And we basically were able to divert from that. And I think, and the procedures in number 3, which pretty much is pretty much our own creation, and which the borough president approved, makes for a far more liberal and open matter. And I don't think we can get more than that, unfortunately. But I think we've gone that way. And I'm also disabled. I mean, and I know that's could be a real situation, and I could have a real problem that could occur. So I mean, we have to make the system as nearly perfect, if not perfect, as possible. I think we try to do that here.
So would best practice just for us to just always go remote then?
Well, I would say is you could get your request in. You could indicate why it's an extraordinary circumstance. Get it, and we get it in within 2 days. Again, if it's a reasonable request, it would not be unreasonably denied. And I think, as I said, I mean, I think within 4 hours, I mean, is really it's pretty close, and I mean, I think that's probably the best we could do under the circumstances, and I think it really goes pretty far. So, okay. Anybody else? I don't think I see any other hands, but I don't see all the members in front of me, though. I only see 25.
No, you're right, John.
Based on what I've heard up to this point, I'm going to vote no. And I'll probably be the only one, but I am not happy as things stand now. I'm voting no. So I'm going to put that out there right now.
just so everyone understands, we're not voting for hybrid meetings or against hybrid meetings. We are voting on a resolution that provides and accommodates people that have extraordinary circumstances that won't or cannot on occasion attend a meeting in person, but will allow them to attend meetings hybrid. Because right now, the way that the law is written is that it does permit for hybrid under a set of rules. And so what this resolution does is it provides and clearly defines what the extraordinary circumstances are and what the process is that is involved. And the reason that we embraced this so quickly as a board is because we have had board members, including Pat Morgan and others, that have called in from hospitals and rehabilitation centers and so on to be in our meetings, and we wanted to honor their commitment to this board by accommodating those folks. So that's what this is, in case there was no understanding, in case it got confusing, because we did talk about a lot of different things. That's what this is. Okay.
Yeah.
So we need to go ahead, John, I think, and move to a vote on this. Are you in agreement, John?
Yes. If there are no other questions. Okay. So I move on behalf of the committee, the approval of both the resolution and the procedures.
Seconded.
Okay, seconded. Good. Okay, so do we have to do a roll call on this, John?
I would think a roll call would be appropriate. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay,
so.
Michael Arcadi?
Yes.
Okay, Anicia?
Yes.
Tavish?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Miriam, if you could text Elizabeth your vote, that would be appreciated. Howard?
Yeah.
Heidi?
Yes.
Sheridan?
Yes.
LT?
Yes.
And Alex Cohen?
Yes.
Patrice?
No. No.
John?
Yes.
Thank you.
Second here.
Alejandra?
Yes.
Keith?
Yes.
Okay, I don't think Karen's been able to join us from the plane. Okay, Serena. Serena, you can unmute going *6.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, perfect. Your vote?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Mark Laster?
Yes.
Beatrice? Beatrice?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Justin?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Dr. Renee?
Yes.
Steve Metz?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Pat Morgan?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes, and yes for Miriam Burfus as well.
Deeply appreciate your helping out with this tonight, Elizabeth. Tanya Paget?
Yes. Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Diana?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Gladys?
Yes.
Katrina?
Yes.
David Schneider?
Yes.
Herb?
Yes.
Jean? Jean? Okay, I guess we're still having issues there. Teresa? Teresa? You're muted? Okay. Dr. Tomyayev? Dr. Tomyayev? Okay. Irina, no. Martha Tucker?
Yes.
Okay. Susan?
Yes.
Alexa?
Yes.
Brentley?
Yes.
Edwin?
Yes.
E.T.?
Yes.
And me, yes. So the resolution passes. I know that we have remaining multiple committee reports tonight that are purely informational. I'm making a motion as chair, if I can do that, to table these reports until our October meeting. I am just concerned for the time. It is 10:25, and if I do the math in my head, which is always a dangerous place for me to do math, it comes out to being here far so late. So if unless there are any objections, I'd like to table these reports until October.
I second that motion.
Yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, the ayes have it. So we'll quickly move into the final piece of our evening, the good and welfare report. I know that, Edwin, you had a quick announcement to make. If we could make these real whippy, I'd appreciate it. Edwin?
Yes, hi everyone, good evening. Just a couple quick announcements on upcoming events. The Forest Hills Asian Association will be having their Mid-Autumn Festival next Friday, September 23rd, and it is going to be at the Regional Savings Bank from 6:30 to 8. It's free, open to the public, everyone is welcome. And then I think one other event that I wanted, oh, Mark's going to share that. And then
Anything
the
else,
other,
Edwin? Oh, go ahead.
yeah, and then the one other event I want to share is coming up this weekend. It's called the Motorcycle Run for Richie. For those that you guys are not aware of, it's a 9/11 Memorial event. This Saturday, September 17th. It's going to be departing at the Flushing Meadows Corona Park Boathouse along the Van Wyck Expressway. And this is an annual fundraiser. This is a fundraiser for the local Forest Hills Volunteer Ambulance Corps to remember and honor those that passed away in 9/11, as well as a local member, Richard Perlman. I'll send a flyer to Christine, who can circulate it out to everyone. So if, all again are welcome to join us there as well. And then finally, if anyone's interested, the Queen's Walk to End Alzheimer's is Saturday, October 1st, also at Flushing Meadows Corona Park. And that's going to be 10 o'clock in the morning. We're trying to organize something for that. So if anyone's interested, please email us at fhaa11375@gmail.com. Thank you, everyone.
Next, Stephen Metz. Steve
Well,
Metz?
I didn't do this a couple months ago, so I was called out for it. So I will wish everybody a happy Mabon, fall solstice. So yay, fall's coming. The thing I wanted to share as a public safety thing is I am not sure if anyone's aware because it was on the Facebook group. This is on the corner of Kessel and 71st Avenue. I called police in regards to this. Right here is a giant wasp nest. I'm able to get close to it because I'm not allergic and I don't really care about getting stung. But this thing's about eye level. I called the cops, they came over, they checked it out, and that was 3 weeks ago. And nothing has been done about it. What my concern is that this branch, I can reach out like this and grab it. And I'm sure that a bunch of kids walking by, grabbing that branch, will make that thing shake quite a bit. And we're going to have a swarm on our hands with kids. This is eye level, so it's right there. So I just wanted everybody to be made aware of that. I don't know if the police department is going to do anything about this. They already came and checked it out. I even showed it to them face to face. But again, that was 3 weeks ago.
Steve, if you could send this to the office, I'd appreciate it. If you could send it to Christine and Frank in the office, and they will see if they can get it done. If you could provide all the necessary details, that would be helpful.
All right.
Is that
Thank you.
what's going to happen, Steve, if we're stung?
Yes, you will turn into a neon skeleton. This is correct. I know there's a few people here that would like that, myself included, but I don't necessarily say it's good for everyone.
All right. Next up is Mark Lasser. Mark?
Yeah, hi. Just so back in June, we did a presentation, a coalition of groups, both of elected officials as well as civic groups here in our neighborhood, had a very successful event. It was about bystander training. So this same group has planned a follow-up. It's called Community Solutions to Hate, Know Your Rights. It's going to be this Thursday, September 22nd at 6:30 p.m. And Panita, we could use your advice because we're making this a hybrid. We're going to be meeting in person at Brain Power Wellness at 6860 Austin Street on the 7th floor. We're going to have a panel list composed of New York Commission of Human Rights, the Mayor's Office for Prevention of Hate Crimes, and Safe Horizons Crime Victim Assistance Program to educate people on how to negotiate the systems if you are a victim of hate. So I'll be sending the flyer tomorrow to the office, and the office will distribute it to the full community board. But please get the word out, because I know at the bystander training presentation, we had 90 people sign up and 45 people come. So I know this is a topic that people are interested in learning more about. Thank you.
Just to clarify,
Thank you.
Mark, it's next Thursday, not this Thursday.
It's a week from Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, and then Heidi Chang. Heidi?
Hi, two things. At the Austin Street Fair at Continental and Austin Street, our CERT team will be there. We will have literature, including how to sign up to get the New York One emergency alerts. So anybody, please, if you're interested, stop by our table. Number two, the precinct council meeting is next Wednesday. We're meeting at the American Legion Hall at 7:30, and everybody is invited to come. Thank you.
What is the street fair?
Thank you so much.
Heidi?
The street fair is this coming Sunday.
Thank you.
And any other good and welfare? Raise hands with the raise hand feature. Okay, nobody else? Okay, we have a few elected officials if they've hung if they've hung out with us long enough. We have do we have Amparito from the Borough President's Office? I don't see you on my list. Tara Chester from the Queens DA's office. Tara, are you here with us? Did you make it?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And good evening. And I'll make this as quick as I possibly can. I just want to say that last month, in that our inaugural Queens District Attorney Summer Camp program, CAMP, which stands for Community Actions Mentorship Program in our office. It was for students ages 14 and 18 years old, and it was for 6 weeks. And I just would like to remind everyone that our office hosts a number of internship year round for students interested in the legal and criminal justice profession. And you can just contact our office. You can contact me, and I'll give you the email address. My number is 718-286-6441. And then we have had a number of developments that occurred in our office as far as stopping the flow of deadly weapons in our communities. I'm just trying to pick out what to say. The DA announced the slew charges, a 67 count charge to be exact. We arrested a 55-year-old defendant from Whitestone, Queens, who was found in possession of 42 legal firearms in his home. And two AR-15 Ghost Gun assault style rifles, and 2 silencers. Also, on the 24th of this month, we will be having a gun buyback program from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Calvary Assembly of God Church in the Rockaways. I sent the flyer. I emailed the board the flyer. And if you could put it on your Facebook and email it out to everybody on your contact list. And if you turn in a gun, you will receive a cash, $200, and a iPad. And then we're also providing people with a $250 supermarket gift card should they turn in more than one operable weapon. And that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you so much, Tara, and thank you for hanging out with us tonight.
Okay.
Next, we
Hi,
appreciate
Tara.
it. Next up, I have Jordan from
Hello.
Tracing's office.
Hi, good evening. Good to see everybody again. I have a list of things here, but I'll save most of those for the next meeting since it's kind of late. I'll just wanted to mention that we did hear from a number of constituents yesterday who experienced flooding, including some in the Forest Hills area. Ever since Congresswoman Meng helped pass the federal infrastructure bill late last year, she has called on the city and state to use a portion of that funding to upgrade the sewers and catch basins in Queens, and we renewed that call again yesterday. We'll continue to do so. Thank you very much. Rest of the items next time.
Thank you so much, Jordan, and have a pleasant evening. I don't see Michael Carlier. Are you here from Hevesy's office this evening? Assemblymember Hevesy's office?
Heather,
Okay, Michael.
Heather, I do see Kevin Wisnowski is raising his hand, so he
Yes.
must be representing instead, so I'm going to promote him. Okay, Kevin
Hey
is
everyone,
promoted,
can you hear
so
me?
he should, yes.
Hi,
Hey,
Kevin.
hey everyone, apologies. Having a little some technical difficulties with my camera, but I'll keep it really quick. First, as the council member and Jordan from the Congress member's office touched on, Assemblyman Hevesy joined each of his colleagues in calling on the city to fully utilize funds from last year's federal infrastructure bill, which were secured in with some serious help from the Congress member. But if anybody is having trouble getting help, we just ask they give us a call, especially with the issues we saw with people filing claims through the controller's office, as we are looking into that. And then I just want to quickly touch on a community cleanup we're hosting on Austin Street next Saturday, September 24th. That's going to be 10 a.m. starting at the corner of Austin Street and 71st and Continental. We are partnering with CB6 and some other local leaders, so really appreciate the partnership. And you can email us at hevesya@nyassembly.gov to RSVP. And as always, if we can help with anything else, please don't hesitate to let us know, and look forward to seeing everybody soon.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And last but not least, Kevin from Councilmember Schulman's office.
Good evening, everybody. I'm not going to turn on my camera. I'm going through a bad allergy attack today, so you don't want to see the snotty mess that I am right now. But just a couple of quick things. Like the council member mentioned, participatory budgeting is starting up. So if anybody is interested or knows anybody who is interested in participating, please feel free to email our office, district29@council.nyc.gov. We'll also be having a sign-up sheet at the street fair on Sunday. So look out for that. And also, as of a couple of hours ago, we are signatories, co-sponsors on Intro 76, which was the backwater valve incentive program. It may not appear on the website, but that's because central staff is probably asleep right now. And that's all from me today. Have a good night, everybody.
All right, thank you so very much. And I didn't call on, but Sean McCabe from Senator Dabo's office? Not here. Okay, very well.
Heather, I just want to give an update on the social media committee.
Dr. Renee, we've tabled committee reports until next month. We're
Okay,
gonna,
all
I'll
right.
take, because we had a couple that we weren't able to get to tonight due to the late hour.
Sure. Okay, all
But
right.
appreciate the work that your committee is doing, so thank you for that. I want to thank you all so very much for an extremely productive evening tonight. I'm so sorry for everything that sort of built up, but that's sort of what happens over the course of the summer. So I want to thank you all for this very productive evening. I want to wish all who celebrate a very happy Rosh Hashanah, and for those who celebrate Navrati, many nights of happiness as you celebrate that into this fall. So I want a motion to adjourn.
Yes.
And I'd like a second to that motion.
Second.
Okay. Thank you all so very much for your patience, and I will see you all live and in person.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Good
everyone.
night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night.